Conversion, software version 7.0. Looking at life through the eyes of a tired world. Eating seeds as a pastime activity. Toxicity over city. Now, only on the world, only on disorder. Now, somewhere within a sacred silence and sleep. Somewhere between the sacred silence and sleep. Disorder. Fires, loud neighbors, wish thy reveries caught in the headlines of truth. Eating seeds as a pastime activity. Toxicity over city. Now, what are you on the world? What are you on disorder? Now, somewhere between the sacred silence and sleep. Somewhere between the sacred silence and sleep. Disorder. What are you on the world? What are you on disorder? Now, somewhere between the sacred silence and sleep. Somewhere between the sacred silence and sleep. Disorder.
Hello there, everyone. How are we all doing today? I'm obviously the common sense guy, or some people know me better as Jason. I am here today with my good friend at the Laughing Ogre. Yes, my hair is an absolute fucking mess.
It's all right.
How are we doing today, sir?
Well, it's pretty good. I remember this like big, people read so much into music. In the case of the song Toxicity, they hear that, eating seeds is a pastime activity, and they start all these questions without stopping to realize that the band System of a Down, whom I've never met, but some good friends of mine that had a band called the Auction of Thieves, they met them and quote unquote partied with them a little bit, but for partying for some people is not partying for the System of a Down. They don't do drugs and drink.
No.
I guess a couple of them will drink a little bit, but you're not going to catch them drunk in public. They don't. The lead singer's freaking Muslim, and he doesn't drink at all. And I don't mean crazy Muslim. He's a Muslim like I'm a Christian. He doesn't want to blow you up or anything. He obviously is in a rock and roll band. Anyway, so I'll just leave it at that. It's just funny how much people read into songs. I think the thing we need to remember with music is made for you. It's meant to tell the story you want it to tell. So what it could mean for some person would be a lot different than what it means to you. In fact, what the original writer and or performer meant it to be could be drastically different what it means to you. And guess what? Everybody's right.
Yeah, because that's what music is. It's about interpretation. And your interpretation is going to be completely different to mine. But in some cases, it might be the same. And that's the reason why a lot of fans will follow the same band, because they have the same interpretation. They think it is good. It speaks to them on a different level. I said this before on my stream on Monday. I believe it was Monday. It's been such a long time. But Yeah, there was a stream on Monday where I was mentioning about the song Scars, and I've actually done it quite a while ago where I was going to explain it, which I will do an actual video on it, actually, to be fair, because I find it a little bit easier.
Scars, not Scar Tissue by Chili Peppers. Which one? Scars.
The Scars by, oh, bloody fuck me.
Oh,
Papa
I think
Roach.
it.
Papa
Yeah, I know
Roach.
what you mean now. You've had me play it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Which is one of my most favorite songs, and the reasons why is because it speaks to me on the whole of the words that they say about cutting myself open to make you feel better. I've done that sort of stuff. I've cut myself to make sure that I can try and help people, and then be completely burned at the other end of it. The whole song just speaks to me and how my life was. The same as a couple of Eminem songs. I won't get into that myself, but music is, as Ogre and what we're trying to say, it is what we interpret it. And once we interpret it, we can put our own distinctions onto it. That's when it becomes a classic, or that's when it becomes our anthem or our song or our jam, because we put the distinctions on it. And
now, I don't want to
there's
blow your
nothing
mind with
better.
this, but I really don't want to blow your mind with this. But I want you to think about this. Now, in this age of, fake news and this is fake news and that's fake news. Look, isn't news a lot the same as that? I mean, as long as someone isn't outright lying to you. And in our case, we don't have a lot of right-leaning media outlets in this country, but we do have some. And I don't think you have a lot there in your country, but you do have some. In some cases, be it or here or there, you may have to go to the internet to get them, but you do have them. Is it the same way? Common sense. Isn't news the same as music? Can't what's news to one person and be a horrible thing be a great thing to someone else, and still both people be right?
Yeah, because it's still about a case of interpretation. I mean, if somebody's going to be, I don't know, let's say there's a terrorist attack, for instance, and that's going to be the most massive thing that I can think that would divide people. Some people that support the terrorists will go, yeah, that's a great bit of news, which I think is abhorrent, obviously. And I'm not even going to go into the reasons why, but obviously I think that. But then you're going to get the other people that are completely against it. But both of them are interpreting the news in the ideologies that they've already set. Does that mean that they're both wrong? No, they're reacting to the news of what's happened. So, yes, morally, the terrorists are wrong, but in their eyes, morally to them, they're right. So it's about the interpretation that actually comes across from them and to them. So everything's about interpretation. As somebody like Memes of Destruction would say, it's about playing the game. It's about being better wizards.
Yeah, well, I get sick and tired of people getting so mad about spin. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I don't like it when the spin goes so far to where it's like, okay, Donald Trump killed the Jewish people because, I mean, if you look at it, actually, the guy was an anti-Trumper, but I still don't want to say, because then the other side, common sense, is saying, oh, well, the guy killed the Jews at the synagogue because the media and look, the guy killed the Jews at the synagogue because he's a fucking maniac.
Yep.
It wasn't because of the AR-15. Wasn't because of the NRA. Nobody's got blood on his hands except for this one maniac.
Mm-hmm.
And, even people like to point back and say, oh, look how he was raised. His mama did this and his daddy did. What? Mama didn't fucking tit feed him? You got to be kidding me. Don't make excuses and don't blame other people. There's one maniac here. We get far from that. But other than that, I mean, hey, there's always going to be spin. When we do our thing here, we spin it our way.
Of course.
But that's just human nature, wanting people to agree with the way we have worked out patterns. We like to find patterns. We like to solve problems. Once we solve the problem, we want all the monkeys to know this is the way to get the fresh fucking nuts and bananas. Come with me.
Exactly. But no, that's exactly right. The interpretation is to each and individual person that actually reads the news or how they interpret what's going on. That's the whole point. That's the reason why everybody has a different political view, and it's hard for everybody to fit into political compasses. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything is wrong. That doesn't mean everything is right. It just means that the interpretation made by other people is their interpretation. Now, to change that interpretation, you need to have an open discussion. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to be right, but generally, society is normally what we go by, societal norms. Sometimes that means we have slavery, but then at the end of the day, it means that we can actually change it and actually be morally right about it and get rid of it completely. So sometimes societal was wrong, sometimes it's right. But again, it's about interpretation.
You know, the funny thing about slavery, question came up. I was discussing with someone I know the other day, happened to be Halloween, and someone showed up to the Halloween party dressed as a very unflattering Indian. I don't know how to say it. It was
right.
great. But there was this one person that it kind of stuck out to. So the question is this: why in the United States did we not have Native Americans as slaves when they were different skin color? Was it because blacks were? I mean, I don't want to put anything in your head, but why would it be that we didn't have Native Americans as slaves?
That's true. Didn't they do that for a little while, but then they realized that they actually wouldn't be slaves because they'd fight back?
That you're really close. I mean, we tried to enslave them, absolutely, like we've tried to enslave, and like other people trying to enslave us. I mean, slavery's went on, and we try to enslave who we can. But it wasn't just that they'd fight back, because black people would fight back, Africans would fight back also. But they were from here, mate. They knew the land better than we did and how to survive on it. They knew how to get from here to there. So trying to keep one as a slave, they just wait till you go to sleep, cut your fucking throat, and disappear, never be seen again. And so there, you're dead, and the Indian's gone. Anyway, I mean, it's just these little lies that we're told. These little lies that also, I mean, did Indians take slaves? Absolutely. They loved to take other people's women. Now, they didn't really always stick with white women. They didn't have any preference for white women. They would take your women, period. Now, if they stole a white woman, they would then generally dye their skin with berries, so they blended in, and their hair too, if they were light hair, so they would blend in with the people. But anyway, I mean, I don't want to get way off in the weeds with that, but we think about all these things today, common sense, and it's like we are told so many lies. Yeah, and look, I don't feel bad that there was a time when some Indians, some Algonquins, took some, 5 white girls from a settlement when they were 13 and married them, had babies with. Hey, we were on their fucking not really their land, but we were in their territory, making permanent encampments where they didn't really want it to be that way, and they needed the girls.
Well, I think it's very hard for anybody to look at history, and again, going back to what today's title should have been, interpretation. I think it's very hard to look at history with an interpretation of what our moral systems and moral standards are today. We would have no idea ourselves, or at least most of us wouldn't have an idea on what it's like to be frontier cities, be on the verge of trying to defend yourself day in, day out with against animals, Native Americans, other people that are coming across as well to try and take what you've got. We would have no idea how to defend ourselves because of that. We would have no idea how to do that. But yet we would make moral judgments on each side. And we tried to make our moral judgments because of that, rather than just looking at the facts that were there. And unfortunately, we shouldn't be doing that. If we try and make everybody look as bad as what they would do if they were alive today, then all the good that has been made from the periods that's happened would be null and void. So all the structure and struggle that's happened between the 1960s and so on, and the civil rights movements and whatnot, if you were to look at the people that were fighting for the civil rights at that point, you'd call them racist and bigoted and misogynistic and all the names under the sun nowadays. But yet they fought for change.
Yes. Well, and here's another lie that we've been told. Ignorant white males, the progenitors of the Western culture, these terrible, bigoted white males, invented patriarchy and homophobia. Listen, in Greece, oh man, I should have looked this up if I was going to talk about it, but I'm not going to be able to tell you all the proper names in Greek. But they had names for a man and the kind of sexual activity engaged in.
The same as the Romans.
The best would be you got fellatio from a handsome young boy, and that was the only kind of sex you got. That meant you were the bad mother effer. I can't remember but so bear with me. And then but the worst was you only had sex with your wife. And it was maybe to procreate, maybe not, but you just had sex with your wife. That'd be the least. That homosexuality was lauded, and it was something that just happened. I mean, and like you mentioned Rome. I mean, if comments says we don't like to think about this right now, but the fact of the matter is, if we were in Rome and we were in the bathhouses, chances are, one of the things that you and I would do would be to take a young boy, each of us, and to be with a young boy, maybe even together in a room while we were, having that kind of pleasure. We don't really think about that, but don't let them beat us over the head and say that, all these things were invented. No, my kind and our kind and people that looked like us and invented the Western world had no problem with homosexuality whatsoever. They looked at it as the highest kind of sex, the best kind of sex.
In some aspects, I really do find it very interesting. I mean, we do have stories to go through, but I do love this topic, and I love the fact that it's off, I love the fact that it's off the cuff. So it's very, I love these type of conversations, but I do love the fact that so many different people of color, to use the progressives term, would always say that homosexuality and instances of that are a white person's disease. I've heard a lot of people say it as put that way. I don't think so, but I'm using their language. But yeah, if you look in everybody's culture and everybody's history, it's always there. It's always there. Whether it's used as a punishment, whether it's used on a battlefield, whether it's used as part of a tradition, whether it's used as tribal acceptance, it's always there. Does that mean that homosexuality has always been a case of a punishment, and that's the reason why we've always looked bad on it? Or is it a case of homosexuality in general's always been there? I always would have thought that it's always been there because it's part of our disposition, not necessarily there was
that 800-year period where it was, just bad according to the church and all these things.
Yeah.
But then if we focus on one part, I just like what you said. We can't just look at what the past is and judge it by where we're at today. If we do that, hell, it's never going to line up. Things change.
Sure. Right. Let's move on to actual stories because I can see that we're
memes our cue. I had to give him the link. He said he had an hour. He'll be good. He'll be good.
Oh, it's memes of destruction. Even when he says that he's having an actual discussion on saving the world, he talks about Star Trek and Star Wars.
Hey. The only way forward is turning our eyes to the stars and leveling up.
Well, beam me up, Scotty. I'm on board.
I'm done.
And I'm not going to get on with the memes bashing that's been going on for the last week or two with his references. I love your Wizard and your Star Wars references.
I absolutely actually love most of the things that Meme says, apart from when he talks about politics. Anything else is fine, just when he talks about politics.
Hey, I think in general we agree on the ends. We just disagree upon the memes. That's all.
I agree with that. I definitely disagree with memes.
All right. Well, don't make me look bad, memes. I had you come on, and he's got to get to the news. I already derailed the first part of the show just to talk about some off the cuff, mindless philosophy.
Hey, nothing wrong with mindless. There's nothing wrong with mindless, and philosophy's never mindless. That's honest. Anyway, so carry on, Mr. Memes.
Oh no, I thought we had stories and things. I was going to say, I think you guys are exactly right, because music is one of the three things that binds all of humanity. Between that, food, and love, I mean, it cuts across whoever you are.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I know I've got a story up at the minute, but I absolutely agree with that. And I think one of the main things that would always stop, I'm doing inverted air quotes, so imagine I'm you doing inverted air quotes as I'm saying this, but getting rid of the racism, inverted air quotes, would be the best way of doing that, is having biracial relationships. Simply because what you're scared of is the reasons why you go against it. So if you're scared of somebody because they look different to you, if you know that people in your family are able to be with those people, then you then interact with them more. And then it's a case of getting rid of it like that. Rather than just trying to have an aversion to it, just relax, enjoy it, find out what's going on. Be a better wizard.
Exactly. And that's why we fear what we do not understand or we're unfamiliar with. Go ahead, Mr. Roger.
So speaking of people that need to be better wizards, I'm just dying to get on with this first story, I guess, after I derailed our first 15 minutes. This was just something I didn't know happened. And whenever Common Sense put the show map together today, we were like doing the pitch, the pre-pitch or whatever. And it was like, wow, that's anyway, what was this about this virtue signaling prick?
Yeah, well, Alec Baldwin has been arrested after allegedly punching a man over parking spot in New York. The actor sent a 49-year-old man to the hospital, a police spokesman said. I can go through the report. I'm not going to actually play it because it's actually the Huffington Post, so it can fuck off. So I'm just reading it. So Alec Baldwin was arrested Friday in New York City after a dispute over a parking spot allegedly become physical. A New York Police Department spokeswoman confirmed to HuffPost Baldwin, 60, allegedly struck an unidentified 49-year-old man, sending him to the hospital. So he didn't just strike him, he struck him that hard that he had to go to the hospital. In the city's West Village neighborhood, the man supposedly pulled into a parking spot Baldwin had been waiting for, according to a local NBC affiliate. To be fair, that is kind of dickish.
Mm.
No, my question is here. Was Mr. Baldwin backing into said spot, and did the other guy come in? Because there's historical precedent set by Seinfeld in that if you are ahead of the spot and you're backing in, you have the right of way. So, not to say that violence is justified in any way, but we both know that parking in New York City freaking sucks.
Yeah, no, I would. I've never been there, but I would agree, knowing what it's like in London. But no, he definitely says in the actual story itself that Baldwin himself was actually waiting for the space. So I imagine he actually parked up and was waiting for the person to leave, and after the person left, tried to pull in, and the other person just got in there. I imagine, which would send tempers fraying, so to speak. But it's like what Ogre said, for somebody that preaches all of this nicey and social justice and whatnot, to completely lose his temper and then resort to physical violence and use his masculinity to be able to impose his will on to somebody seems a little bit hypocritical.
Yeah, and I don't want to blow it out of proportion in this way, that because remember, they say that, you know, this guy went to the hospital. Don't assume that he's hurt. I mean, when Alec Baldwin hits you in the face in New York City, you go to the hospital because you're going to sue the guy. You're going to sue the prick. So you go and the doctor looks and you're like, at the very least, the doctor's like, yeah, you appear to be shaken up. You know, so
wait a second, Mr. Ogre. Are you saying that an individual, when hit by another individual who may happen to be rich and famous, they might seek out counsel for somebody in order for financial gain?
Of course, man.
No, never.
That's what 50% of the Jewish males in New York City exist to do. That's why they're there. They're there for you.
So, Mr. Ogre, if an individual were to be sued by said Jewish attorneys, not that I have any experience with Jewish attorneys or anything, but do you think that's where maybe some of the hatred on certain communities comes from? Because if there's one commonality I at least learned from my dad, the group that hates lawyers more than anyone else are other lawyers.
Other lawyers, yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree as well.
I know one thing though, with Alec Baldwin, I mean, that anyone give him credence when he's virtue signaling, this is nothing new.
Yeah,
he's been punching out what's her name, Basinger. You know, he beat her up, roughed her up in the day, and been punching people out, and he got away with the one. The cameraman got close and he punched the cameraman out.
Yeah,
mind you, the cameraman was encroaching. I kind of cheered him on, but let's remember, this is a hypersensitive, testosterone-fueled, ego-driven, borderline maniac. And I think the best part he ever played was The Edge, and I think that he didn't have to act very hard for that part.
No.
And I think that that's what would happen to him, too, if he was ever in a position with a real man like Anthony Hopkins played in that movie. You know, fire from ice. Where are we going to get fire from ice? Think with me. And he tells that fat fucker, he's like, what are you going to do? Die of shame? I imagine all of his blustering, all of his beating up of, and I know he's an older guy. Listen, this is an older guy that's wealthy, had personal trainers his whole life. He has let himself go here to there. This is just not one of those times. It's like he knows he's getting older, and he's 70, he's fit, and he's picking on this old guy. So, yeah, I mean, whenever I say old and the guy's 49, younger than him, yes, old guy. So I don't know what else to say. It did spark a fire in me.
Well,
and he's going to pay for it. The dude's going to sue him. He's going to pay.
Well, I'm not sure that it will get too much because the charges against the actor will likely include a three-degree assault, which, as far as I know, by your laws, is the equivalent of pushing.
Yeah, I don't think it's much. And he could plead that down to like attempted jostling in public. That is a crime.
Yeah.
It's just not much of one.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, what kind of Jewish lawyer he gets. And if he doesn't get a Jewish one, he's stupid because they're the ones that'll get you off on some kind of crazy
They are the
shit.
best, and the reason for that is because they are the best because they're persecuted all the fucking time.
Yes. Scott Isles, attorney at law.
Yeah. Baldwin has enjoyed renewed popularity for his blustering impersonations of President Donald Trump on NBC's Saturday Night Live. The president has famously lashed out at the actor over his depictions.
So why
After
is his
comment-
performances blustering and Donald Trump's lashing out?
I have no idea. I have no idea,
Memes.
even if Donald Trump lashed out or not. I have no idea. Go ahead, memes.
That's because that's some of
memes.
meme's slippery language there, with all respect.
The problem with this is, and again, here's one of the big words going around today is inverted. If we inverted this, and if President Trump were to do a satirical scenario playing Alec Baldwin, and in a quick, like 1 minute YouTube video, someone cuts him off and then he freaking knocks a mofo out, what do we think the response would be?
Well, should we go through some of Baldwin's history then? Baldwin's history of antagonistic behavior is well documented. The actor was taken into police custody in 2014 for riding his bike the wrong way down Fifth Avenue, but arguing with officers about it as well, which is, I think, the most important part there. Not necessarily doing it the wrong way, but then telling basically officers to fuck off because he doesn't care. Who charged him with disorderly conduct.
Yeah, you start yelling at the police, that usually doesn't go well for anybody.
Yeah, and then you've also got Baldwin also received backlash in 2013 for lobbying a gay slur against a photographer, attempting to capture his wife and infant son on camera. MSNBC, when he hosted a talk show at the time, subsequently chose to cancel the show. 2 years earlier, the actor had been booted from a plane in Los Angeles for refusing to stop using his phone as well. In 1996, Baldwin went all the way to trial over the misdemeanor battery charge, and he was acquitted by a California jury that decided he was defending himself when he struck a man attempting to photograph his family, as Oga already said.
I just like that one. I just love that one.
Yeah. There are certain instances where you would actually back him for it, but for somebody that constantly states all the time that, oh, masculinity is bad and everything else like that, as Oga said at the beginning, and as we all know, he is known for playing antagonistic roles. He's known for it. He's known for doing that all the time. So when you have somebody that plays this all the time, why is it a case of you would moan about the masculinity when you're playing and portraying those type of people?
I mean, it shouldn't necessarily be surprising, but I mean, we must also remember that Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, also played the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's not the one virtue signaling about masculinity, though, is he?
Well,
he doesn't care about masculinity.
And he plays Trump, but then he steps out of the role to continue to say that he's so angry and he's so juvenile and he can't control his anger. He says these things. And then here this guy is over a parking spot, punched somebody in the mouth, in the face, whatever, memes. I don't want to say where because I don't know where he punched, but in the face area, in the head. And so memes, come on, man. At that point, don't you have to say that this guy's a virtue signaling prig that ought to be drugged down to a warehouse on the east side of Brooklyn and be stomped until he shits his pants?
I think people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Yeah, that's right.
That's very well said. What it comes down to. No, I mean, you look at it, if you're going to be attacking a bunch of folks for doing things that you think are toxic and you don't agree with, I mean, and then you're going out there and beating the crap out of some dude because he cut you off for a parking spot, even if it's in New York City, I mean, that ain't freaking cool. And I actually just want to address one quick thing from the chat that actually ties into this. Because I know, the chat, the Proletariat, oh my God. No, but here's the thing. We're talking about voting. I guess apparently there's a selfie booth there after you vote. So, and folks are saying, oh, no, I don't know where I'm living. I think it was Ain't Jack. And I'm like, no, as long as you're encouraging folks to vote, I think that's a good thing. But then I start to hear some of the arguments in there that I hear other folks say, well, I don't want other folks to vote because, oh, they're idiots or something like that. And I tend to disagree. See, I think people are smart. They know what they know, often well. However, when confronted with something they're unfamiliar with, they end up saying things that people they know that they think are smart or they trust say to fill in the gaps. Because, I mean, there's a trillion plus facts out there. You can't know everything.
I think it's slightly different to that as well. Even if you do have people that just vote because their daddy voted Democrat, or if their mummy voted fucking Republican, it doesn't matter. That's the point of a democracy. If somebody wants to vote purely because of that, then fuck it, let them vote because of that. That's the reason why you fought for your freedoms, regardless of if you believe that that's the right way or not. That's what you voted. That's what you fought. You had your wars for, so that you could vote for that way if you wanted to have the freedoms to do that.
Well, it's a good litmus test in this election, now that we're talking about this, gentlemen, and that, yes, we should all be allowed to vote. But in this election, we could really do something great for humanity. And if we could find out the people that knowingly voted for candidates that would put Nancy Pelosi back as Speaker of the House, we could take their right to vote away forever after that. And it would only be a net gain for society and humanity.
Yeah, I know that you're half joking with that. I know that
I'm full joking with that. Oh yeah, come on. Yeah, but I thought it was funny. It was funny.
Well, let's just take away people's rights that we don't agree with. I mean, there's nothing fashy right there.
Yeah.
But as I said, that's the reason why I pointed out that it was a joke. That's the whole reason why I pointed it straight out.
Well, they're going to take rights away. I mean, she's already talking about using subpoena, and then I mean, if you listen to Waters, she was like, "I'll be the head of the financial committees." And when I'm the heads of that shit, I'm going to be every revenging motherfucker that was after me. I'm going to get him. And I was like, holy shit, did Maxine Waters just go full Negro on us? To say that she was going to revenge? She's going to get the revenge going? I was like, yeah, she did. Yeah, she did.
Well, no politician would ever say something in order to help rile up a base and or help get them elected. I mean, that would be silly.
But memes, just very, very quickly. But memes, if there's a difference in riling up your base against political ideology. She's not doing that, even by the words in which Hogan chose to use at this point in time. She's personally going after people that are against her, about getting revenge on people that were against her, that came after her. This is not about politics. This is purely about revenge at that instance. And any politicians, nigh on.
I'm paraphrasing, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And sorry, train of thought. If you have somebody that is literally just doing this from a point of revenge, how are they ever doing anything to benefit the politics? How are they doing anything to benefit the people, regardless of what party or side it is? Regardless of that, if you're literally saying, I'm doing this because people were against me, how is that helping your constituents?
Oh, that's a load of bullshit right there. And it doesn't matter.
No, I agree with you. That's what I was saying with my joke.
Yeah, no. And I remember the whole thing where the IRS kind of was going after certain folks, organizations of a more conservative nature. Do I necessarily know that was exactly because of political disagreements? I don't know that, but if there's hard evidence and that's what they're doing, no, that's messed up. I mean, you're just trying to start to burn folks who are quote unquote others to the ground. That ain't right. You're not doing the job of the people. You're wasting time, resources, and pissing off the other side for your own political gain.
They were hitting Tea Partiers, man. Tea Partiers. And they were going after, Ted Nugent. Because you got a big pecker. They don't like him.
Well, either way, it's still the point of somebody like Maxine Waters, and I know you've mentioned somebody else as well, but for the instance of somebody like Maxine Waters, that's literally going after people rather than political views, even to the point of saying go and aggro Ted Cruz and people of his ilk. Go talk to them in the streets. Go talk to them in the restaurants. Go talk to them in their daily lives. Don't give them any breathing space. That's nothing to do with politics. That's trying to force your political adversaries out of the running and out of the game because you don't want them to be. You want them to be completely harassed. Imagine if people were starting to harass Maxine Waters on a daily basis, where she ate, where she drank, where she went to shit, and everything else like that. Imagine what the uproar would be. But because it was with Republicans and Ted Cruz, nobody really gives a shit and actually having a discussion over whether it's civility or not. It's ridiculous. There's times and places.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I actually love the term that you used there, aggro them, which brings me back, as Jensen and Queen Bee will attest, that go back to World of Warcraft. Basically, in any type of game like that, aggro means there are certain mobs, or some may say NPCs out there, basically monsters you will battle. Basically, if you get within a certain range of some, they will just attack you. However, there are others there that are more neutral or passive that will only attack if you attack them, as well as others that will just flee if you attack them.
Sure.
And it's scaring the shit out of me that it seems like some of the stuff we're watching, you see the same thing. Some folks get attacked, they run. Some folks, they get attacked, they fight back. Other folks, you get within a certain range and they're freaking going at you. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Like, Elon Musk might be onto something.
There's a possibility, but there's a possibility.
He knows how
on
to take
that.
people's money.
He definitely fucking does on that one. But I think you touched on a really important fact there. And I think it's a case of when you have people that are saying go aggro these type of people, regardless of who the people are, because I know Republicans have done it as well, and not to the same degree. But it's a case of when you have these type of people that do that on both sides, it's a case of you're eventually going to get the two sides in the middle that meet that are not going to move and they're going to fight. So when you actually do this, these are not the people that are fighting. It's literally the pawns that have been sent by the kings and queens, if you will, for that, using that analogy, because people like Maxine Waters are literally pushing people to go and do this. So when they have opposition, as in the people that support Maxine Waters, for instance, or Democrats, go off and have aggravation themselves from Republican supporters, they're then going to fight. All this is doing is creating such a division on identity politics and putting things from one side to another. As Jordan Peterson says, it's turning everything tribal rather than political. And we don't want to go back to being fucking tribal.
Yeah, and actually, to be fair, CSG, in the How to Save the World stream last night, we kind of touched upon this for a brief, 30 seconds. Exactly. No, in the social media and stuff like that, because before, we all kind of just lived in our communities. You put on the TV, you kind of see what the hell was going on in the rest of the world for 30 minutes, and that was it. But now, all of a sudden, you're putting over 7 billion people potentially on the internet, and they can see what's going on the other side of the world in seconds and minutes. News will be disseminated, and it's not like that's a change to our humanistic dynamic over the past several thousands of years, within the past 20 years or so, that all of a sudden we might disagree with folks around there.
But I think that we've changed a hell of a lot from what you were saying from the 7,000 years and whatnot. We changed a hell of a lot to the point where we could have the discourse. You look between, I don't know, the actual 1900s all the way up to the 20th century. Most people were able to have disagreements politically and not go and say, well, we need to go and stab them, or we need to go and fight them in the beaches and fight them on the streets, as it seems that people nowadays are actually saying.
And fight over what?
Well,
exactly.
The thing is, it's especially in the UK and the US. I mean, let's face it, a lot of things in general, we argue over first world problems. If you literally have to go out and hunt and try to survive on a daily basis, when you don't know where your next meal is coming from, you're focused on survival. So you don't really care what somebody's posting on Twitter, or if Alec Baldwin's beating the crap out of somebody, even if it's wrong. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's still a first world problem, but these are the problems that we have to deal with. And if we don't deal with our own problems, how can we deal with other people's problems? Because at the end of the day, we've got to deal with the problems that are put in front of us. And though they're first world problems, there are problems.
Well, there's always problems everywhere. It's just how do we go about fixing them? And it just seems like you were just saying there, CSG, is we're kind of just devolving in many ways to just slinging ad homs and just trying to demonize our opponents rather than actually trying to get solutions. And here's one of the things I actually learned from doing corporate sales and marketing is that, yes, you can destroy and bash your competitor. And yeah, for a while, you'll see a bump. The problem is it's not a sustainable long-term strategy. I mean, hate will only go on for so long, but I mean, pain of anyone will get pain. Hatred will breed hatred, and violence will continue to spawn violence. I mean, it's just it's literally the cycle of pain. If CSG gets my little reference right there, and that was something I tweeted at JPP the other day, even though I misspelt the last violence. But I'm like, screw it, YOLO.
Yeah, well, Nagaruto will be very, very surprised and very happy with his Master Jiraiya.
That's the crazy thing. Oh, go ahead.
I was literally just about to say that even in those sort of instances, and I know that we've gone a little bit weeb on everybody at the minute, so I'm not going to go down that road too far. But even though that you have instances like this, you still have to go through the problems that are put in front of you. If you can't deal with the problems that you're trying to virtue signal, going back to the story, or if you're trying to say that masculinity is wrong or whatnot, then you start virtuing and you start doing the things that you say that you're against. Then how can you actually then try and help the third world and their problems if you can't help your own self? After all, charity begins at home, and people need to sort out their own homes before they can help somebody else.
You got to clean up your room before you can tackle everything else.
Exactly. Which you'll be very happy to know that we've actually got a Guardian piece that's going completely and utterly against Jordan Peterson on the show tonight. So should be interesting.
Oh dear, let's do it.
But yeah, well, that's later. That's later, sir. That's later. I'm going to move on to a stabbing, unfortunately, that happened in London. Well, I say a stabbing. It hasn't actually happened, but it was attempting. Well, actually, I'll read the fucking story. It'll be easier, won't it? So let's actually read the story. So Sony knife rampage, 2 stabs. So there was 2 stabs, sorry, with a 7-inch kitchen knife at Simon Cowell's Sony HQ as fight breaks out between chiefs. So this is not your common run-of-the-mill, run-of-the-muck type of people. These are people that are CEOs and things like that. As you can see down there, there's a little video of what's going on. Everybody's on their phone, so they all look very, very scared and very worried about what's going on. It's not the same as it would normally be.
I think it may have been 2 chefs, like to prepare the food also.
God damn it. I can't read.
It's okay. I just want to make sure because you said Chiefs, and then I think you just misspoke, and then you start talking about CEO. So I didn't want people to think that we were talking about CEO stabbing each other.
No.
It's down here in the story.
In CSG's defense, I remember in the very first Breath of Fire game, all of a sudden I'm reading when you're getting like your little Fox ally and stuff. It's like they've kidnapped our chef and the whole mission and stuff. I'm like, wow, the chef must be so important. These folks can't eat without their chef. They need me to rescue them. And later I realized that they were saying chief.
Yes. Well, it happens.
Well, good thing is I can blame my dyslexia. So fuck everyone.
Yeah, but cracking on, I mean, this is still something else.
It definitely very much so.
I mean, you got to wonder what happens. And in the kitchen, man, there's lots of shiny, sharp, pointy implements that the people there also, by the way, know how to use.
Very much so. Very much so. I think it's a testament to how today's, should we say, boiling point is coming to a close. Because if people are having disagreements and they feel that it's okay to stab somebody else, now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this has never happened in the history of history. I'm not saying that, but it seems to be more of a prevalent response for people to seem to do this a lot more nowadays than they ever did before. Maybe that's just my interpretation or understanding of what's going on. But it does seem
just news now. It's news now. It's like 300 years ago in England, like like a cook and a head chef, at the manor house. Shit, man, they just didn't report it. They'd be fucking butchering each other left and right. Nobody cared. Like the Lord of the House would be like, oh, they had it again, and make them fight it out in the garden, like blood sport.
What are we doing? A culinary death battle here? Oh my god, dude! I'm not gonna lie, but Chef Ramsay going at you with a freaking large-ass butcher knife, I think that'd be one of the most terrifying things in the world. That is an angry man.
And who's that lisping faggot there? The Jamie Oliver. Wouldn't you just like to see Chef Ramsay just beat the ever-loving shit out of that lisping homo?
No, I'd love him to fillet him.
No, I like John Oliver.
Jamie
Oliver. Oh, and you said you'd like him to fillet him? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see no filleting.
I do.
I think he said fillet.
I did say fillet, yes.
I see what you did there, Mr. Ogre.
Oh, well, I won't. So, 2 people were definitely stabbed with a 7-inch kitchen knife in a fight between canteen chefs at Simon Cowell's Sony HQ in London today as terrified workers cowered under tables. Armed cops swooped on the office building in Drury Street, Kensington, and evacuated panicked workers as dramatic incident unfolded. Because yes, that's dramatic. It's just a normal, common day occurrence. Admittedly, not in Kensington High Street. Admittedly, but you know. One man was arrested inside Sony headquarters where Simon Cowell's company, Sonic Entertainment, is based, or Cinco, sorry. A Sony spokesperson confirmed to The Sun online that the incident was sparked by a fight between catering staff that resulted in 2 people being stabbed. It is understood a tussle broke out and a chase may have ensued through the offices and into the luxury gym at Quinox, also housed in the block. Simon Cowell is not thought to have been in the building, and this is the only reason why this is a fucking story, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Simon Cowell, I'll tell you, there's a guy that you'd really like to see drug kicking and screaming to the top of a high building and unceremoniously cast the fuck off of it, isn't it? I mean,
wait. So is he Chef Ramsay's cousin or something?
Well, no, I don't know. Chef Ramsay, I like Chef Ramsay personally, and this is all subjective. But so maybe they are related. But I would say, as far as likability, I hate Simon Cowell. It would almost make me feel good to see something bad done to him.
Yeah, I don't dislike Simon Cowell, but I do think that this whole story is only put onto the news simply because it's Simon Cowell's building, and they can reach off of Simon Cowell's name as they have put it in there 5 times, even though he's not even suspected to even be in the building. It's
kind of the same as Alec Baldwin just punching a guy over a parking spot, which has never happened in New York City ever.
No, it's more of the case with Alec Baldwin. The reason why we chose that is because he virtue signals that people shouldn't do that and shouldn't be masculine, and yet he's the one that does it a lot of times. That's the reason why we do that, to point out hypocrisies. There's a point to it, but this story itself is literally dragging the story through the newspapers simply because of Simon Cowell's name. Slight difference, but I do understand your meaning on it.
Oh yeah, no, there's a different reason. They're just putting his name in there to get more clicks, I would assume.
Yeah. So that's literally all I was trying to get through.
I don't think Simon Cowell does anything if we don't make a little money.
No,
I like the guy. I was just trying to jerk his chain. He's a wonderful individual that's done so much for humanity. No, he's a piece of shit. He really is.
Hey, we got to be fair, Mr. Ogre, because I believe he was still on American Idol at the time where we had the pants on the ground dude. Because we got to remember, pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground, hat turned sideways, something. So I don't remember the rest of the song.
Thank fuck.
Yeah, I don't get it, but I didn't follow that TV show. So I don't know much about it.
It was an older gentleman of perhaps greater Afro-Caribbean descent. And the thing was, they're like, how old are you, sir? And he's like, 63 years young. And they're like,
young.
You do realize the age limit on the show is 26. He actually got a gig after that. He was pretty good. I watched it live.
The age limit is 26 on the American.
They kept raising it. I think it's like 29 or something now.
American Scumball. Well, it should. I mean, I don't know. It should be 26 because after that, you're useless anyway. According to shows like that, you just, if you're not beautiful and young and sing well, then Simon Cowell has to give you a funny look and say, "Did your mother tell you were worth anything? You piece of shit, out of here!" And it's like, wow. It didn't, because they could have told them that a long time before they got to that point, and they did.
But that's the point to tell you, though, Ogre. But I do have to say, I do actually like the British version of Britain's Got Talent, because we have people that are over the age of 90 that actually go into that talent show.
I like Britain's Got Talent. I won't lie.
Susan Boyle is amazing.
Yeah,
Susan
she's all right.
Boyle. She's all right.
She's all right. Four Quivers are not too bad. I was going to say something else, but I'll just leave it as that.
No, but Boyle, I'll be honest with you. It's just the only reason why it's amazing is because she's so hideous. And then when she sings mediocre, it's like, wow, I can't believe that she can sing on key and sing that way, which to me, again, is not super duper good. But when you put it next to her stupendous hideousness, it's like, wow, that seems beautiful. It's like Beauty and the Beast kind of thing.
She's an amazing woman.
I'm not sure she's an amazing woman. She's. I'll give her that she's talented. I will say that. I'll definitely say that. She's talented in her own outright. But I think Ogre's hit the nail on the head. I think the reason why she is so successful as what she is is simply because people look at her and they don't expect her to sing. Because, I mean, in a nice way, you don't really hear too much about her now, do you? Because people know that she's like that and can sing.
Yeah, well, and they made a big deal about it when all the clips I've seen of it. They like trot her out for her first thing, and they made her look super frumpy and dumpy. And she even like was hunching, and with her snaggle tooth, her tooth is like 17 inches long. It looks like a tusk. It's like a pure ivory. And then
she's not a walrus, unless she's a furry, maybe. But I don't.
Well, she's
but then she
got.
She opened her mouth and did
she's
her
definitely.
thing. Like, wow.
Well, I was going to say she's definitely got some whiskers on her face.
Definitely, thank you. And that tusk. So when you put the two together, memes just stating she's not a walrus. I want to know the proof.
I don't want to know the proof. You can find out that one. Sardonic7 says in the chat, Susan Boyle, the unrapeable.
Who says there's not funny rape jokes? Now that's funny. That was funny. I don't care who
Terrible people.
That is entertaining and funny.
I apologize for derailing the conversation yet again, CSG.
There's now wrong with the derailment of my streams. I like derailing them.
Well, and again, you said that it's only because that it was at Simon Cowell's, and the reason I'm going to back you up on that, man, is what's gone through my mind is why is this news? Because they got acid attacks, they're stabbing motherfuckers left and right. They got shootings. There ain't supposed to be no guns up in there. In fact, knives are illegal too. And I just heard this moron talking about we got to get people in there to change laws. It was Joy Behar talking about we got to get people in there to change laws because when you change laws, you change behaviors. Hello, stupid. Hello. Anybody fucking home? Have you ever heard of a history book? Nobody in psychology, nobody in human behavioralism, no one believes what you said because it's demonstrably false. You fucking fat bitch.
What's a book? Isn't that those things on tablets?
No, it's an audio. It's audio. It's sound. It's fine.
Sorry, Joy Behar. Every time I say her name, I get a hard on because I want to fuck her in her fat ass.
Nice.
That's not very nice.
Speaking of a fat
ass, of course.
Consensually. Yeah. Considering that we've mentioned the fat ass, we now go to this is a story that I think will possibly irritate Ogre a little bit, but we'll find out. Kerry Katona defends airport drinking on Good Morning Britain and urges government not to ruin the fun. Now, before we get past the actual news title, this isn't defends drinking just at the airport. This is saying that people shouldn't be drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning or before.
But what if you have a red-eye flight?
Then go and speak to Mad Dodge and go outside the actual air.
Well, you could be from anywhere. You could be on a different time.
Exactly.
I mean, because everybody says, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I always say this. It's tomorrow in Beijing. And so when you're in an airport, she says something. I listened to this whole thing, Common Sense, because you're right. I love this girl. I love this lady. Because she was like, I look at airports as a timeless. It's because once you start traveling in air travel, it's like time stands still. I want a fucking cocktail. I don't want no fun governor jumping out of the bushes somewhere saying, oh, pardon me, Mr. Ogre. I noticed that you have a Bombay gin with a twist of lime in your hand, sir. How dare you? You can't drink that now. It's in England here. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I would say I drink at home at 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay. A and B, fuck you.
Yeah, I think the fuck you at the end of it is probably more powerful than the first. But I do actually agree with, in part, both sections. I do agree with the 8 o'clock sort of banning type thing. But I also understand that just because you say it's 8 o'clock somewhere doesn't necessarily mean that the people that have traveled across are not doing it at a different time. It's only the understanding of our own time zones that we're enforcing the law. So I do understand both aspects of it. I don't know. I'm a little bit weirded out by the idea of it. I think it's a good idea, but then again, I also think it's a bad idea because why should anybody be governing or telling people what they can and cannot do, especially when it's a case of all the traveling in the different time zones and whatnot. But there was a story that I had a couple of days ago that I'm saving for a video, and it was a fact of a Japanese airline pilot that I think, without going off the top of my head, was 20 times the legal limit and was going to fly a plane.
Jeez, oh, Pete.
Well, I mean, can't planes pretty much fly themselves?
No, they can't. That's the reason why they have a pilot and co-pilot, and then they have somebody else at the back as well.
Well, I'm not saying he should fucking.
Yes, I'm serious, and don't call me
like
Shirley.
Hey, all right. Thank you, Leslie Nielsen. That was an amazing
that's all. As soon as
movie.
like several times the legal limit to fly a plane, that's all I can think of. It's like all these. That's what popped out, but all of these airplane references started flying through my head. It's like, are you shitting me? You can't be drunk. Look, I've done many things in my life. One of the things I did was drove truck, moved special commodities and furniture in the summer, and then in the rest of the time went trade shows for United. It doesn't matter who, but for different companies. And I partied hard, man. Went all over the country, made a shitload of money, so I was able to go and do whatever it was in that town. But one thing I never did, ever, was even get drunk the night before I knew I would be loaded up with $300,000 worth of tractor, $150,000 worth of trailer, $2 million worth of somebody's stuff on that trailer. No. You don't drink up. You don't play with stuff like that, right? No. You just don't do it. But that said, now if so, the other people can enjoy booze when I can't. And if in an airport, oh man, banning booze seems like a horrible idea. Now, again, very quickly, will some people get drunk and be morons? Of course, I've done it. We all do it. Some people do it. Not maybe we all, but a lot of people do it, and it's fun sometimes. But you pay the consequences of that. You miss your flight. You're a dickhead, and you got to hang your head. So yes, that will still happen. But why? This is my blanket statement. Why punish everybody because some moron don't know how to handle his heroin?
Well, the thing is,
hang on just a second. Putting the heroin into there is kind of a red herring. We're not talking about that. We're talking about alcohol, and you know what my views are on Pacific drugs and different things like that. So I wouldn't even try to slip that into the conversation without actually talking about the reasons why people actually do heroin and the reasons why heroin in itself is actually illegal.
Yeah, no, I understand, and Mr.
Well, very similar drugs.
Would never go to a more extreme limit there. But just to touch on one thing Mr. Ogre said, every truck driver I've ever talked to, they pretty much echoed the same sentiment. It's like, if you're getting in that cab and you're hauling truck, you don't frickin' touch alcohol. That's just you just don't do that. But I mean, also to go on it as well as what Mr. Ogre said is, should we legislate laws in order to prevent the stupid actions of a few, or should we just let folks basically have the maximum amount of freedom? And if someone's going to do stupid shit, then, I mean, you're going to face the consequences at some point or another.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really too interested in the story, apart from, the actual Kerry Katona bit in that. But I think that we've all made quite decent points, to be fair, where, it's an idea where it could happen, but should it be enforced? No, not really. It's a case of if the people are already drunk, then just don't serve them, as Kerry herself actually says in the actual video, which is linked in the description box for people that actually want to watch it and whatnot. But it is time is short compared to what we would normally have. And memes, I don't know if you know what the time is, but you've got around about 10 minutes left yourself, mate.
Thank you kindly, sir.
Yeah, not unless you're staying longer, which you're obviously more than welcome to.
Don't let the doorknob hit you in the ass.
Hey! Unless I got those buns of steel. All right, let's carry on.
No, I love how this has been going because we go all over from these stories. But I think we really cut that one to pieces. The knife.
Yeah. Yeah, we did well there. We did well.
You got a good one on deck. I know you do. I see all these stories. You got a great one on deck. Oh, I should have thought of a better segue. That's probably why you're okay. Let me see here. So it's no, I don't know. I really don't have nothing better because the cash for the crash for cash scam. I think it's we call there's so many names for these things. The bump and run in Detroit. Basically, if you're in Detroit city limits and you get into some minor accident, roll your windows up, lock your doors, floor it, and get the fuck out of there. because they're going to either rob you or they're going to rob you one way or the other. It's either going to be really, really unpleasant or it's going to happen and you don't know it because they robbed your insurance company through you. So, you know, all of these things you got to be careful about. But I was kind of shocked on this mirror, the dramatic footage that shows the BMW rear-ended.
Yeah, no, I completely not agree with you. I don't have sound because I'm using Hangouts, but you will be able to hear. You will be able to see exactly what's going on. So for people that want to watch this, I am going to put it all the way back to the beginning, and I am actually going to blow it up so people can actually see it properly. As soon as I can get hold of that fucking thing there. So, as you can see, this is the actual story that we're going through. Watch the BMW, the silver car in front of the car that has a dash cam, obviously the camera that we're using, and see what happens.
Because it was true of almost.
Was that you, Sherry, Mr. Ogre? Would you like to do that instead, or?
I just wait. That was on a roundabout. As somebody that lives in the northeast, oh, go ahead.
We have the record on that. The other massive mistake which we made, conceptual error we made, was that we had assumed, because it was true of almost every referendum that's ever been anywhere, was that people who went all the way through the were still basically undecided, if they voted, would end up going for the status quo, yes, because it's the less risky option. That's happened almost everywhere, and that didn't happen either. Because it didn't feel like a status quo. No. Did it? I mean, that was one of the great victories of the snake oil campaign. It felt like a kind of a temporary aberration by the time they finished their administration.
That's basically it. So people that are actually driving, I can understand what Ogre's point would be on this as well. Also, people in the chat, what does everybody think about that? Do you all think that the car possibly stopped too quickly in the roundabout and was forced upon, so the car had to hit it? What do you think, Memes, on that one?
I mean, I just find it a little odd. Just the car got hit and like two people instantly got out of it, like at the same time, and like someone else was. I'm like, what's the deal with that? And to be fair, somebody that lives in the greater New England area, we have a whole bunch of roundabouts. We call them rotaries up here. But I mean, if you drive around a rotary long enough, somebody's freaking gonna hit you at some point.
Traffic circle, yeah, they're dangerous.
Yeah, no, especially if you're not familiar with it, because we got folks from all over the country that come up here. Where I mean, if you're in North Dakota and you got freaking like 300 miles just going west, I mean, it's gonna throw you for a loop.
It's strange because they have them in North Carolina too. It's just weird places that you find these traffic circles, roundabouts, rotaries, whatever you want to call them. They know when they build them that having stoplights would be much safer, but they do this anyway. I don't really understand why using signs. I don't get it. It's crazy, but I've watched this about 5 times in a row. I mean, taking away from they slammed the brakes on, but the car in front of them did slow down a lot right before that. It's very difficult for me to look at this and say it's definitely a scam.
It's strange because you could also hear the automatic like stop feature on the car with the actual dash cam going off. Like it was beeping right before, and it slowed down as much as it could, and then it hit them.
Which lets you know it's like the driver wasn't paying attention, folks. I hate to tell you, because like you said, you can see that this person was slowed down from the black car. Now, was the silver car trying to do something wrong? Very possible. I don't know. But by this video, I would say it would be near impossible to say that they were, because they slowed down because of the black car. Then they suddenly slammed on their brakes again. But the car that rear-ended them, there is no discernible braking that happens in that good. That's well within what we call the lag. You have brake lag. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that, but you have you have the time that it takes you to see that something's happening, time that it takes your body, the reaction time to go to push the brake pedal, then the mechanical reaction time to actually stop it, then starts your stopping distance, your mass, and your stopping distance. So with all those, but he didn't even initiate. You could see that there was he didn't even start that brake lag process. So I mean, when I see this, I don't see this. Did you all see a scam in this? Is there an obvious scam?
I
just don't see it?
I do.
Other than the people because the people jumping out. That's
not bothered about. I'm not bothered about the people jumping out. I can tell it by the way that the driving is. For instance, so the way that the driving is, you have the black car that's in front that doesn't stop, that doesn't show any lights, doesn't even slow down naturally, just keeps on going at a constant speed. You have the BMW that's behind the black car, and that car just ends up going off of the roundabout and then slowly comes to a stop and then stops. It's already stopped before the car hits it. That to me instantly says that the car was trying to get itself rear-ended.
I mean, they could have just laid on the brakes, because if you're not the greatest of driver, if all of a sudden you just hit on the brakes hard, if you got some new brakes with ABS on them and they're auto gripping, I mean, even at the same time, well, I don't know about the other car if it had like an auto stop feature or something, like, just because speed does kill, if you do stop prematurely, some folks are just like, oh my God. So I mean, it is hard to tell there. I mean, I kind of get thrown a bit for the loop when the folks actually get out there. So it's like, I don't know, are they instantly like filing mass charges? Are they going to the hospital and saying everything is wrong? Because I mean, no, if you do get hit, I mean, you could get hurt. I've got plenty of friends that have had like whiplash or have been in horrible accidents that you don't know if they're going to make it or not. No,
I completely not agree. And the reason why I think that this is a scam in itself is simply because of the driving. I'll put it back on again in a second, but if you rewatch it, the black car itself does not slow down, not one iota. When the BMW itself, the silver car, goes across and goes to leave the roundabout or rotary circle or traffic circle, whatever anybody wants to call it, it then stops. It doesn't just slow down and then gets hit and then stops. It slows down and stops to make it look like it's slowed down. It's already stopped before it gets hit.
So you think the black car was in on it?
I'm a little bit with it, because normally people that do scams normally do it in twos.
Okay. All right. Now, if that's the case, I could definitely see a scam, because as I've been saying, I didn't see any kind of stopping by the black car. So now when you put that in my thought process, which wasn't in there, that okay. If these people were working together, then it's that's possible. Yes.
But that's to take away the aspects of the black car as well. But if you get the people that jump out, and regardless of what the woman's doing, the woman is shouting, which is fair enough. She's just been hit. You would expect that. The bloke, who's supposed to be the masculine side, as we've been doing this today, is holding the back of his neck. Surely, if being a man, wouldn't he be the one that's the aggressor? If he was trying to do that, or is he trying to make it look like straight away he's got whiplash?
Maybe he has whiplash.
Maybe he has. But if you've got whiplash, would you be holding your neck when you've just got out of the car as quickly as the bloke did?
I don't know. I'm not the dude.
It doesn't
and
matter.
The way he kind of did that too. I'm just rewatching that
Can we take a look at it again?
And then his hand back to it. That is a little suspect there. I don't know. You never know.
And then you actually have the BMW itself drive away, and look how quickly that the BMW itself then drives away from the actual incident. It drives away quite quickly, meaning that the driver himself is probably a little bit competent on what he's actually doing. Because to be able to do that, especially with cars going on the outside to park up, as well as being in shock as well, suggests that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, like he doesn't actually want to get hit.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that mean? I talked over you.
No, I was going to say, no, the car just driving away and just the folks in the back getting out, that just seems very odd to me.
Yeah, that was how fast they did. The whole thing seems odd. I won't lie. When I watched the whole thing, there's something very off about that. The whole deal.
Let's have a quick look and see what the chat is saying. Has the chat made a decision on if this is a scam or not, or is the chat as normal being in their own little world? Yeah, they're in their own little world. It's fine.
What's that? A couple places, insurance with cars. Now they're kind of Hammer Spud says the point is what kink of a retarded gammy bear wanker thinks stopping on the exit of a roundabout is a good idea to start with.
Yeah,
that has to do with it.
Absolutely true. Yep, absolutely true.
Yeah, roundabouts are more efficient and safer when used right. Well, ain't Jack? Nobody uses shit right. I mean, it's always easy to say that, but what's the cause of most problems? It's user error. So saying that things work this way when they're used correctly, yes, stoplights are used correctly more often than roundabouts. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, the thing is with our roundabouts, we mostly have traffic lights on them as well, and I think that actually has pedestrian traffic lights around it as well.
Oh, that's double
well,
confusing. That'd be double confusing.
There's one thing that I've noticed.
It does have pedestrian lights.
Yeah, there's one thing that I've noticed. It's just, it seems in general that if you're driving a car, many folks they hate pedestrians. And if you're a pedestrian walking along, you end up hating cars. But there's one thing that I've noticed that both of those groups seem to hate, and that's bicyclists.
Cyclists.
Seems weird.
Because cyclists rock. That's why.
Well, no, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those folks go hardcore, but it's like, all right, you're on the side of the road, but then all of a sudden you get into a lane. Are you a car or are you? I don't know. It confuses me. It like makes my brain like twist into.
Actually,
a
bikes are supposed to be subject to all the laws of cars. They shouldn't be on the sidewalk. All that stuff. They should be going with the flow of traffic on the side of the road. Anyway.
Generally, yeah, but the bike, the cyclists, the pedal bikes, the propulsion that is human that pushes them, normally is a case of they don't really give a shit. They go past red lights. Cyclists, especially in London, are not very well looked at because they don't fucking look where they're going.
Well, that's the thing. You can be very responsible. You have all your gear and stuff, and I mean, a lot of folks they end up putting in like near full bike lanes now to kind of differentiate it. But I mean, it's like, hey, I mean, they're working hard, they're getting some exercise, and a lot of those folks they commute. So I mean, you got to give power to those folks, but it can still be one of those things where if you get stuck behind somebody, you're just like,
Actually, I don't mind being stuck behind a cyclist because generally with a cyclist, as long as he's not too far in the middle of the road, you can go around him. And I don't really have a problem with people going across and doing their exercise and getting to work that way. We need more people to do that. Fuck me, I could use some of that. But I have a problem with people when they go past red lights and when they take up half of the fucking road when they're fucking pedal bike. But that's what I have a problem with.
well, that's the thing. At what point, if you're going to follow the laws of traffic, also it's like, well, now I become a cyclist over here. I'm just going to kind of go through this red light, go over this crosswalk. It's just like, I'd probably look at it differently if I was actively cycling.
Maybe. Well, so last time from the panel, scam or no scam? Now we had a relook of it, or should we watch it one last time, the three of us, and decide for ourselves again? What should we do?
I say let's take one more look at the footage.
Yep. Did you want to play it again, Ogre, if you got it up and running?
I think he's keying it up right now. Mr. Ogre, roll that beautiful bean footage. He's probably up taking a piss right now. We're saying that as he's there. I don't know, man. I don't know. You need to, but here's the thing: if it's in like the UK and the Greater London area at all, I mean, aren't there like a bajillion cameras around there?
Yeah, but you have to remember that the people actually play it on. It's only me, so I've got no sound, but I'll do what I can, so to speak. So let me just put that all the way up there so everybody can see it again, and let's play. See how he? I'll just quickly rewind that.
Fucking wanker.
You can just quickly. I'll just quickly rewind that one last time. Watch the red lights. Watch his actual brake lights as he goes into the actual corner itself. Watch them so everybody watches it. So as he goes in, look at his brake lights. Look how he's stopped. That's why it's a scam. Look how quick the bloke got out. Look how quick the bloke got out as well. Oh, my neck hurts now. Oh.
Yeah, and he had his hazards on instantly. His hazards were on almost immediately.
Why the hell did he let the car roll away?
You know why I think it's a scam? Because they look like a bunch of muzzies.
Well, regardless of what they look like, to me,
that was stupid. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah. But regardless of what they look like, it's more of a case of the actions. Now that we've had another chance to analyze it, so to speak, you can see that as soon as he starts to enter the actual exit of the roundabout, so to speak, he puts his brakes on and holds them and stops. That's not the sign of somebody going, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing." That's a case of somebody going, "Yeah, I want to get hit so I can claim off of you." In my opinion.
I mean, he was awfully close to the other car, and it could have just been a
Memes,
very
come on,
reaction.
mate. Memes, come on. I know you're doing it.
But if you get hit, and all of a sudden your first response is, "Let me get out of the car and let my car just roll in an active rotary," that seems very irresponsible. One could say they're not in the right mindset, but it seems a bit suspicious to me. It seems like kind of a kerfuffle. MC likes that word.
Kerfuffle.
It seems like you wouldn't try to make a bunch of. Never mind. I shouldn't go there. I keep wanting to make inappropriate jokes tonight. Let me sip my wine and listen.
It's all right. I actually got to get running, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. And
goodbye.
Crack away at your jokes, Mr. Ogre.
No worries. No worries, mate. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Take care.
Charity.
Yeah, I've got a joke. This Jew walks into the unemployment office. Anyway, that's it.
I like that one. That one's quite good.
Me too. As a Jew, it makes me quite proud to tell it. Yeah, so I don't know where we're at with this. It's what it is I'm just going to keep saying this. When something looks really, really, really wrong, it usually is.
Yeah.
And the more I see that, can I put my thumb on who's to blame? No. In fact, I thought maybe it wasn't a scam until you threw the idea of the black car into it. And then I thought, well, would they be willing to take? Well, of course they would. If the guy was going to say he had whiplash in his car to put it all together, and of course, they're going to make more money than would to get a few points on a license. So, man, it's just. I'm thinking that there is some scam involved here. That's all I'm going to say. I just don't know what it is or who's perpetrating it.
No, that's fair enough. I think that there's a scam, and I think it's purely maybe with the help of the black car. I'm not 100% sure, obviously, but even if it's not, you can see that the BMW, as soon as it goes to leave the roundabout, it puts its brakes on and comes to a stop. You don't do that. Not unless you're after something. That's all I really wanted to say on that one. Hopefully, Mr. Crumple Point will check his Twitter DMs, because I've got a massive news story that I think that he would be really interested in, which is to do with a Scottish dad. So I'm hoping that he comes on very, very soon. That way I can go through to the next story. But we shall see.
Yeah. It's Memes is gone now, so I can't answer his things. I just looked in the side chat. Memes is a great guy. He's a slippery little Memes now. But he's a good guy. And you know what, you gotta give it to him. He's so game. Like, we've had other guys on, and you know, they just can't take the heat. And then and not only don't they come back in the kitchen common sense, but they're also like mad. They just hate hate common sense now. Fucking big fat bastard. They hate girl, you bearded homo. And we hope you both get butt raped and lie dying and bleeding. Okay, all right. I'm thinking of one person in particular, Welsh Mirror stories. But it just happens. I mean, you know, that you disagree. You could disagree, but still like each other afterwards. And Memes, that's one reason I like him. I very rarely agree with him, but he's always agreeable about it. It's nice. It's good.
See, the thing is with Memes, I know mostly when he's doing his trolling. I feel like I know, should I say? Because I can't say that I definitely know how somebody thinks and feels, but I feel when I know when he's doing his trolling. I'm pretty sure that he was trolling at the end with finding out if this was a scam or not, so to speak. So yeah, I like Memes, but I think that he trolls a lot. He's definitely a god tier troll, and I'm sure he would love that reference.
Yeah, well. I maybe I don't want to give him that much credit. I think that he really believes a lot of stuff he says, but I also won't argue with the troll thing. He's definitely god level.
Yeah. Well, I think we've filibustered.
Hey,
enough.
what the hell is I may be off here in asking this, but what is that thing that you call what's the credit deal? This has been bugging me. And I don't, is that the story you're going to now?
Universal credit? No.
What is universal credit? If that's the story you're going to, what the hell is that? I've never heard of that in my life.
Universal credit is basically what the Tory government has piloted in a couple of what you would call states, but what we would call counties, and has put them to put all the benefits that come out or can be given to a household into one particular universal credit. To be honest, it doesn't really work that well. I'm on it. I'm in one of the areas where it does. It doesn't really work that well. Everything seems to be rushed. Everything, when you try to speak to somebody, they're always from a script. I know you would expect that, but you have to remember this is the benefit system that always tries to fob you off as well. And now that the Tories are in charge as well, they do seem to try to fob you off a lot harder.
Why do they call it universal credit? Is it like a credit card? Is that why they call it that? What is it?
I think if you think credit is the same as benefits, and it's basically a universal benefit, but they call it a credit.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they're crediting you this. Okay, they're crediting you a certain amount. That makes sense to me. It just took me a minute to wrap my brain around, and that really helped. And I do see that you changed the story, so I really don't care to talk about that, mate. It's what we got to do here with the Scott's dad fuming. I just looked at the show map and realized that one had been knocked out.
Well, the reason why I knocked it out is simply because we had quite a lot, and I'm thinking that the last two particular stories, especially with Jordan Peterson, and I think with the idea that we could talk physiological, no, not physiological,
Philosophical.
That's the fucker. Stupid English language. But we can do that on the last one about is it beneficial to just wait until you have sex, or is it a good idea to not, or blah blah blah. I think that can take up a fair amount of time, and I don't really want to have that section of story to take up those times when we can talk about that, because I find those conversations a hell of a lot more interesting than the idea of politics at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, well, I've waited long enough, unfortunately, Mr. Crumplepoint. I'm going to check my Twitter one last time for you, and if I haven't got anything, then I'm going to go on.
Oh, right, there? He's right there. I see a thumbs up. Was he supposed to swing by?
He's supposed to, yes.
Oh, he just gave a thumbs up.
I noticed.
Well, anyway.
It's saying error. It's saying error, so it might be my fault. So let's just get the boomer one more chance of being able to do this. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to go straight back to my Twitter. I'm just going to send you another link.
Yeah, he's always good to have on. He's top notch. It's funny how, and because I like Tucker Carlson. And look, many people that go, you Tucker Carlson, so you think, no, he's another talking head. That what Tucker will do is he'll be like, I'm not going to sit here and, take sides or disparage what you're saying. And then he'll take sides and disparage what they're saying. Or he'll be like, I'm not a right-wing pundit. And then he'll go on with his right-wing punditry. He is a right-wing pundit. He does have an agenda. Remember this. Listen, somebody wise once told me, the devil's in control, and take it with a grain of salt. Just listen to what I'm telling you before anybody jumps to me about devil and God and stuff. The devil runs the media. The devil runs the, Hollywood. So if you're in Hollywood and you're doing the thing, you work for the devil. And so be call it the Illuminati or Council of Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission and all this other stuff to do who it is, and they're doing the Monarch Butterfly Project and sexually fucking people up. Well, yes, all of that in a big bag. It really is. It's all of that common sense.
No, I think it's interesting. Now, I'm not going to go after the terminology of the devil. I'm not, but I wanted to tell a joke. So YouTube joke. This is a joke. Now I got the premise out of the way. You say that obviously that the devil is the one that's in control of what was it again?
Hollyweird,
and what was the other thing that you said as well?
Well, I was saying Hollywood, and then I said it doesn't matter if you call it say it's the Illuminati or whatever.
No. There was something else as well.
Oh Lord, I don't know. I was on a little conscious rant there. I wasn't taking notes.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine, especially when it comes to the media. Media, that's what.
Oh yeah,
media in Hollywood.
media,
Media in
Hollywood,
Hollywood.
media. There you go. Same
Now,
thing
if you
to me.
look
But
at,
go ahead.
I find it very, very funny because if joke, by the way, YouTube joke. If you have a look at the actual statistics, then Jewish people are normally the ones that are actually mostly in control of most of those conglomerates. So are you saying that the Jews are the devils?
Yeah, oh yeah. And I mean, you can make a joke, but no, yes, it's true. In fact, because most people right away they think Jew means religion. Well, I'm an example of Jew doesn't mean religion because I don't go to synagogue. I'm not religious in any way, but my bloodline is Jewish. There are so many Jews that are born with the bloodline of Jew. They may have even went to Hebrew school and learned the Torah, the whole 9 yards, memorized Leviticus, had a bris, had a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah if they're a female, whatever. But they don't believe in it. It's just a fairy tale. I mean, in the end, what's the difference? To think that someone couldn't say they were Christian and work for the quote unquote devil is crazy. The Illuminati is real. The devil is real, just like Freddy Krueger's real. I'm going to tell you why the devil's real. Because people believe in him. Because people give breath to him. And much like Freddy Krueger, when you give breath to him, he can take your fucking life. He can take your soul. So that's where I'm at on that. How you doing, Crumple Point? Welcome to Crazyville.
Hello. I'm well. How are you guys?
Good.
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I'm very happy that we've moved away from the devil and religion.
Oh, no one said religion. No one said religion. You got it. And listen,
hang on now. Hang on. Ogre's talking about the devil, and I got about 5 error messages in a row. And then he finishes up his speech, and then I get in. I don't know. There must have been something going on.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
the devil was in Google.
6. See, if you would have said 6, then I would have believed you. But you said 5. You fucked it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a way to spin it and twist it, but it's not religious. And anyone that would listen to what I said, look, man, it is. We give breath to what we give breath to. Thor and Odin and Loki and all these creatures were once real, and then they disappeared, and now they're real once again. Kek died for 2,000 years. Kek was an actual god in Egypt. I think y'all might know that. That is a fact. And so these things, they reoccur, and they are as real as we give them power to be real. That's a fact. And so there is a devil. There is a God. There's all of these things. There's luck, good luck, bad luck, and coincidence. Most of the things I just said, I don't believe in. I don't believe in luck. That's for damn sure. Coincidence. Carry on. I will quiet down and sip my wine.
Well, the thing is, I think that we should do an absolute stream about that, where we just talk about the idea of religion, what we can believe, what we can't believe, and not what we can. Sorry, let me rephrase that. What we think we can believe and what we think we shouldn't believe, and things like that. I think that me and you, Ogre, would be able to do a massively long stream on that one, and I think it would be very interesting in that. I'd be quite interested in doing that. Maybe we should do it on the Monday if you're free on Monday, if you are. Because that'd be quite interesting.
Free for a while here now, it looks like.
Yeah.
I just got to boil. I've got 6 jars of kraut that are done crowding, and so now I will cook them and recan them so they seal.
Are you going to have any tea? Are you going to have any tea with it?
No. Hey, though, I like kraut and tea, and I thought that no, we can't go there, can we? There's another. See, there's a real devil there. There's a real devil there. I used to talk to that dude once in a while when I knew Base Mama and all that ilk. What an evil bunch of just demonic. No, I shouldn't go there. Let's move on.
Yeah. Let's move
Well,
on.
it's just because I'm just going to keep trying to use this nomenclature just to piss off common sense.
Yes, you are.
I had a weird thing with what you're talking about. I watched Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris talking about religion.
Oh, God.
And I am an absolute atheist. But I've always agreed with Peterson's side of it, but he's only ever affirmed my atheism, which is, I find. So I'm listening to him talk, and I'm nodding and going, yes, that's the right way. Then I'm listening to Harris talk, and I'm shaking my head and going, no, 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 no. But I'm an atheist. Like, I have this really weird discord there.
I actually understand where you're coming from with this, because certain parts of religion make sense. If they didn't make sense, people wouldn't follow it. I hate people that are completely against the idea of religion in its total, because there are parts of religion that are good. There are parts of any religion that are good, regardless of what people personally believe in it. So remember that even if you don't believe in a God that wrote the Bible or whatever, then the people that did write it, if you believe that way, still used common sense, inverted air comments, to be able to write it. So people are still going to understand it from their own personal views, because even if you don't believe in a God as an atheist, you believe that people wrote it. So logically, it will come to the point of, well, it comes from a human perspective, if you believe it in that way. So I do completely, absolutely understand where you come from. And I think a lot of people that go against religion just completely and utterly destroy it and cascade it away, as in, oh, well, we'll just destroy it point by point. I think that religion has a lot to play and a lot to be thankful for, and a lot for us to be thankful for. Because I think without it, I don't think we would have made as much as leaps forward, especially in morality. Regardless of if people think that it was universally applied is not the point. But the idea of morality did really stem from the idea of the Ten Commandments, especially from Judeo-Christian backgrounds.
Yep. And that was all the stuff I was agreeing with. It's just, I don't know, the way he explained it, he was explaining it as if it was evidence for his viewpoint, but all it was doing was making my viewpoint feel stronger.
Yeah.
Which was against his, I don't know. I kind of understand it better the more I think about it, but it's very puzzling. But yeah, what Ogre was saying, I agree with about you make these things with your own hands, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you said it that way, because the Bible says something that is really contradictory. Man, I shouldn't have said the Bible. I should have worked around it. So just bear with me, comments, since I did mention it.
I really hate it when people say the Bible says.
Well, yeah, I know. I realize I should have said an ancient text, but what it says is this: it says that one man takes a piece of wood and he carves an idol out of it, and then he takes part of that wood that he carved the idol out of, and he uses it to build a fire, and then he worships the other part. And then another guy takes some mud and he builds up something out of the mud and then he worships that while he washes the other stuff out from underneath of his fingernails. And so it really, to me, when I read that, it's like, well, you know, as much as I really appreciate this collection of myths and this book of books, I really got to say that the same logic could be put back onto this. And people would say, well, you know, they wrote this and they compiled this, and then now they worship this. And so, you know, we all build. I like to look at it this way. I have very firm faiths and very firm convictions that if you asked me and pinned me down on it, or asked me at all, you wouldn't have to pin me down. If you just asked me, I would answer honestly, without fear, regardless of how crazy you may think I was of it. But I don't think that means that I just need to volunteer every bit of information about what it is that I believe and what I hold fast to. But you know, everyone to their own extent builds a mythos and builds something. And for a lot of people, and they don't like to hear this, common sense, I think this is you. I don't think you'll like to hear this, but I'm gonna do a little armchair psychologizing on your ass.
Yeah.
You probably like to tell yourself that you don't find any solace in the afterlife, that you don't look to what's going to happen after, but you do, because you believe that when this world is done, that there's nothing. You believe that it's going to be that you will cease to exist, and that every feeling you have, good, bad, or indifferent, will cease to exist. That is, it takes faith to believe that, because no one, you or I or no one else, knows what happens when it's all over. Yep. But it's also, it is, I mean, come on. Who wouldn't say that's something to hold on to? Because to be perfectly honest, the true, unadulterated, which I believe you are, common sense, one of the few that I know. I think that if you found out you had some fucked up cancer tomorrow and I went to visit you and it's like, hey, you want to talk to Jesus now? You'd be like, What do you mean? The guy that's got the weed, Jesus, down the road, or you mean Jesus, your weird God guy that you follow? You know, I don't think you change. And I've met many people. I know people that have died and felt the same way while they were dying. One guy, Chuck, a good old Chuck's coming to mind. But anyway, I don't want to make this too long. So in the end, what we build up and what we believe is what we believe. We hold fast to it. And I think that it's better to believe that than to think that, wow, if I make the wrong decision, I'm going to burn in hell forever and ever, which, by the way, I don't believe. And I don't think any Christian can believe that if you read that strange old book that I read. How you doing, Crumple Point? I was just looking at your comic book. Just read it to Mrs. Ogre the other day. I got to do this really quickly. Common sense. I just have to. And I got to say that Mrs. Ogre enjoyed it, and she said that what she termed it as she called this minimalist, the storyline. She said, "Boy, that's a minimalist story," and I was like, "What do you mean?" Because at first, I'm in my heart, I was like, "Man, she's saying my bro's shit sucks." And he was like, she was like, he left you, he gave you a good story, and left you enough room to really use your imagination with the pictures. And so for what it's worth, there's someone that doesn't really read comics, and that's what she thinks about it, that you had a story that was solid, but it was solid enough to let the artwork itself also speak for itself. So I really encourage y'all. I'll probably put a link out in the chat here to swing by, and I'll probably do a reading of this. He already told me I can, but I'd like to know that he sold 3 or 4 more of these at least before I do. But go check out Crumple Point's channel, yes. And while you're there, go ahead and I believe, give him $1. $1 fucking dollar. I don't want to beat this.
2.
Up. Oh, is it 2? Okay,
it's
$2.
It's on a site now as well. I've got it on a website, but I'll deal with that on my own channel. But yeah, it's only $2. $2. That makes me think of a good old movie called Hot Dogs. Like $2. Fucking paper boy coming to get anyway. So yeah, go check that out. Check out Crumple Point's his channel, and then while you're there, man, I don't know. Once you get into it, once you start reading this, you'll want to know what happens. I guarantee that. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep. I'd just like to quickly add to that as well. With Mr. Crumple Point's channel, if you do like open discussions about comic books and what the meanings are behind them, or the interpretations, as well as what they actually are and the histories behind them, there are fewer people on the internet, from what I've seen, that know more than what Crumple Point and the guests that he has on know about the comic books. So I personally, I watch him. I don't always say hello, but sometimes I do. But I would suggest going and watching him. He is very, very knowledgeable, and he has quite a good number of guests on as well, which are also very knowledgeable.
Cheers, lads. I appreciate it.
All right, now that we made you feel weird, what do you want to say, dude?
That was very nice of both of you. And
well, don't make a big deal about it, man. Just kidding.
It's really quite cool that Mrs. Ogre used the word minimalist, because there's 2 interesting things that have happened, which is people have liked the book a lot more than I thought they would, which is good. But other than liking it, something that I didn't anticipate was people correctly getting what I was trying to do. Like this, there was somebody said that there's the underpass at the beginning of the story where this action scene takes place in. Somebody said it reminded them of a setting from the old Deus Ex game, which is exactly what it's based on. So that showed me, as an artist, exactly that I had done it right. And then when Mrs. Ogre says minimalist, well, minimalism is one of the things I was keeping in mind all the time when writing, but with the art style as well. So the fact that she's then gone and used that word, I'm like thrilled, because like saying is good is one thing, but for somebody to use a word that I was keeping in mind, or identify the setting that I was keeping in mind, that's really thrilling, because that tells me I did something right.
You know what's really cool, man? I got to share this with you. Is 25 years ago, a little bit more than that, about 26 years ago, I came into contact with a beautiful young girl that I went to grade school with. Once again, that was Mrs. Ogre. And we used to sit up all night. I hung drywall at the time, plus went to school. And I was constantly on the go. And it was just, we were kids. But at night, she'd come by the house, and we would listen to some strange things like Cat Stevens, Yusuf, whatever now, Akadaka Yusuf or whatever, but Cat Stevens, and we'd also listen like Gagarin, Monk Chance, but I would read comic books to her. And so it'd be, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not even joking. This is just something I want to share with you. And so when I was done reading that with her, not only did she give me her input on that, but she did remind me that that's how we fell in love, and that it had been a quarter of a century since we sat down and the room was dark and I read her a comic book.
Doesn't that make you feel old?
No, it makes me feel great. Like I've had not old, wise, and like I've had a wonderful full life bursting at the seams with the wine and the vigor that fuels the universe and actually fuels the stars. But she reminded me of that. But the last one that I read her, we were looking back, was Wolverine number 28. And then so since then, when Wolverine number 28 was the last, and then till then was Crumple Points. It was a dyspepsy. I mean, what do you call it? Tell me the title. I should memorize
the Peptis Challenge.
The Peptis Challenge. The Pepsis Challenge. Yes, a very good story.
See,
very
Common
funny.
Sense, and that was a lovely story, Ogre. But yes, Common Sense, that didn't make him feel old. But what will make him feel old is the fact that when he was last reading a comic to his wife, I was in utero.
Yeah, well, and the comic that I was reading there, when I tell you that I was reading to the Wolverine series, they were old then. It wasn't like it was something I just picked up. Got some old comics laying around here and there. Fat Crumple Point, I don't know. One day I got some copies, and I don't know how much you're into actual comics. I might have one or two that you'd be interested in that are really not worth much, but there's something cool to have. There's so many of those that, no, it's not worth much, but it's really old, and there's only 200 copies of them in the world, regardless of what they're worth.
That's always an amazing thing with me with the comic books. Just some people put so much moral and high standard value onto it, but then you've got some that don't put any value onto it, and there's only like 50 or 100 of them left. And because people don't care, they don't have any value. But you look at it. Yeah, exactly. You look at it and you're just like, well, isn't that worth more than what 1,000 of whatever is worth? Because there's hardly any more of them left. And surely that person's work should be designed to be able to be remembered, surely.
Well, I think of Robert E. Howard, the old Conan and Solomon Kane and all the old pulp magazines like Boys Adventure and Men's Adventure and Weird Tales. And science stories and all these, and Tales of the Weird, one of my favorites. And hey, who could forget Tales from the Crypt?
Yes,
and all these things. Man, I used to read those, and I'm gonna tell you, boys, something. More than anything else, almost. I say anything else, but no, the stories were paramount. But almost as important as the stories, gentlemen, was the smell of the paper.
Yeah.
The crinkling crackle of the pulp when you pulled that open, and it smelled of sex. It smelled of some sexy co-ed getting her brains stomped out by a madman in a stuck elevator.
I'm not sure it smelled like that.
Yeah, oh, it does to me. It did to me, and I just couldn't wait to get back and to read these stories of the weird, strange, and unfathomable.
And now we've been talking about the unfathomable. Let's talk about Scott's dad fuming after.
Oh, sorry, we do have stories here. I'm sipping my wine.
So Scott's dad fuming after council order him to rip up DIY football pitch in the garden. It's not you, is it, Crumple Point?
Oh no.
So Kevin Greeley's built the enclosed park for the 10-year-old to practice. Yeah, for the 10-year-old to practice his son's skills on. Whatever. The English is obviously not Scotland's strongest language. So that's what he built in his garden. I don't know if everybody can see that there. That's what he built himself with no help from anybody.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's not bad, is it?
It's actually really nice. I was expecting it to be a monstrosity.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. Like a mini little pitch there, isn't it?
Yeah, very nice. I mean, I don't like the football team on it. I mean, I'm sure most Scottish people won't like Celtic on there, but...
You mean septic?
Exactly. I knew you'd get there.
See, I don't like football. I just bash all the teams, which means I get bashed by everybody. Although this won't be a long story, I promise. But there was this one time where I was getting hassled by a bunch of Rangers fans. And me and my mates were like, "What the fuck do we do?" We were just trying to get into a pub, and the game had been on, and we had no idea. And so this guy, like, he squares up to me, and I went, "Mate, we're all Buddhists," and he just froze for a minute and looked at his mates, and they kind of looked at him, and then they just kind of passed. Like, they opened the door for us, sort of, and on you go, mate. It's so weird. It's like, right, so if I wasn't Buddhist, you'd have knocked my teeth out.
They fucking beat you down. Yeah, they beat you till you piss blood, but you're Buddhist. Yeah. Come on in, mates.
But that you can transfer that story to the idea of politics, can't you now? You can change that. You can completely and utterly put that to the idea of politics now. That's how scary it is.
No, that's just how lads are. I mean, it's funny because a million things flashed through my mind when not the exact same thing, but similar things had happened. And now I wonder how many of those people were just folks like Crumple Point that, didn't want their teeth stomped down their throat.
But that's what I was trying to get through, though. Even though people are like that, you now get that transmuted into the idea of politics. Politics is now becoming a physical fighting sport.
Oh, God,
and it fucking shouldn't be. The whole point of politics is to talk.
Well, see, this is an interesting thing with the article, because that Celtic logo adds a new spin to it, because we have massive problems with, not as big as they were, mind you, but we have really big problems with violence.
Yeah.
Between Celtic and Rangers, and some people say it's gotten better, some people it's just the same, but the fact remains it's part of what goes on here. And I wonder if he'd not put the team logo up, that would have had anything to do with it.
I imagine it is, especially considering it's actually in Edinburgh Council. Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know, that's where Rangers is held.
No, that's Glasgow.
Oh.
But because it's tied to, they say it's tied to religious tensions, but nobody seems to be that bothered about the actual going to church part of it. You've got Hibs and Hearts in Edinburgh, and you've got Celtic and Rangers in Glasgow.
Oh, right, fair enough.
But the tensions are the same, because it's the Protestant Catholic thing, Irish, Scots, or Northern Irish, or whatever.
Sure.
Over it.
So all the tensions come from the same place, so it would still cause a problem in Edinburgh, because it's still a big city. And
yeah.
So what are you, Scott? What are you Protestant, or I mean, I don't think you're either, but if you know, like, what side would you line up on? Your family?
Well, I'm well insured because I was baptized in a church,
Catholic?
a cathedral, but I practiced as a Protestant when I was a child. So.
You got your bases covered. I see.
Yeah, I was keeping the big man happy no matter what way it turned out. So
yeah, I wouldn't worry about the big man. I just wondered. I mean, because there are factions and people side on one side or the other, regardless of, again, like we were talking about before, regardless of real religion. Because how many of those IRA guys do you think really were religious? I mean, come on, man.
Well,
they were fucking madmen.
I seem to be one of the first generations that this stopped being a huge problem. Now, it's still a big problem this is why I say it's still a big problem in certain towns and cities.
But you boys didn't answer.
It's nothing as big as what it was.
You all are going to latch on. You didn't answer me, though. Neither one of you. So you're still going to stick to the, yes, it was strictly religious. Do you think it had, do either one of you think it had anything to do with religion?
Well, the football thing. No, I think that.
No, not the football. The whole IRA, the whole thing. The whole Catholic Protestant.
It depends in what aspect that you're talking about. If you're talking about the IRA when they were actually fighting the Northern Irish, then yes. When it comes to the point of being sectarians, then no, that's purely political, and hence why Sinn Féin started.
Let's remember how it started. King Henry VIII wanted a divorce. He sent his emissary to see Pope Pius VI. Pope Pius stuck his foot out to the emissary to kiss the ring. No kidding. Read history. To kiss the ring on his pinky toe, as the Pope did. And the emissary's bulldog, English bulldog, you can't make this stuff up. Seeing the foot so thrust in his master's direction, did what a bulldog would do, bit him. And the Swiss Guard did what the Swiss Guard would do.
Oh,
They
Kill him.
killed his dog. So when King Henry VIII sent his fastest couriers to his emissary to find out what shall they do, the answer was, create your own church, my lord. The C of E was born from a dog bite. So I don't believe that religion just never plays into it. These people say they're religious and all they want to do is get laid and whatever else. And it's got nothing to do with fucking religion. And yet morons die because they believe they need to be Catholic or something else.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely not agree. I think when any sort of aspect, whether it be political, religion, or even physiologically, it doesn't really matter. I meant body as well. That's the reason why I was talking that. But even when we talk about aspects of the brain as well, when it comes to points of identity and where people want to talk about identity, like, oh, I'm a Catholic, well, I'm a Protestant. As soon as they start doing that, they then start into attack. Oh, I'm a conservative. I'm a fucking socialist. They start to attack rather than realizing that they all want the same fucking thing. All Christians believe in Jesus. All fucking Jews, even though there's different sectarians of Jews as well, all believe in the Torah and everything else like that to a personal degree.
Moses, say Jews who believe in Moses. You'd be safe there.
Yeah. So you've got all of these that all believe in basically exactly the same thing. Nigh on, not completely, but nigh on. But yet, because there's slight differences and because there's a name attached to it, it's the name that people give the credence to, not the fact that they believe in nigh on the same thing.
Yes. And then they're
That's where
willing
we
to
all go
go
wrong.
and fucking die for it.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I wonder if the article says anything about the logo.
Yeah,
Because
thanks
it could be
for
nothing.
bringing us back, Crumple Point. Thanks for bringing us back.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, man. Hey,
comment
common sense. We haven't even done a proper show together. It seems like for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Well,
So
I've
I'm a
agreed
little
for a long
giddy.
time,
It's
but I
nice
don't
to
want
just talk
bust
and go off.
Common sense guy's time limit if he has one. So I'm free
I
to
don't have
go
one.
on.
I don't have one. Well,
Cool.
as long as I don't wake up the missus, I don't have one. So that's
yeah,
fine.
so I was just bringing it back just in case, but if you guys are happy to meander around, I am as well. So that's fine.
I'm always happy to meander. But I really want to get into the last 2 stories. I really want to get into the last 2 ones because I think that we're going to have a lot of proper debate about it.
Get to it.
But-
I won't leave until I have to, common sense, which won't be for another hour. I've got an hour.
Imagine going to the trouble of making that though. People are always going on about, oh, the kids need to spend more time outside and you need to spend more time with your kids, and then somebody actually does something like that and the council tell them to
Completely
take it down.
destroys it. They want him to pull it down himself as well. Well, I'll quickly read through the story because the reason why I wanted to do this story is not just because it's Scotland and it's to do with football and whatnot. It's to do with everything that's. I'll get there. Right, a doting dad who built a mini football pitch in his garden for his son has been ordered to rip it up. Again, Kevin Grealis, 48, built the enclosed park for the 10-year-old to practice his skills on. The area in his back garden has artificial turf and Celtic badges on the walls as well as the goals, which is fine. Anybody can have whatever they want on that one. Edinburgh City Council issued an enforcement notice after finding the development in Morningside breached planning controls in the conservation area.
What?
Damn it.
Conservation area.
Yeah, we have lots of conservation areas. I'm not 100% sure what it's like up in Scotland, but I assume it's similar to the English.
No, carry on. I got to find out about this. So they're saying because of some kind of bird or woodpecker, he can't do this.
No,
this
it's to do with
sounds
the
like
houses.
Scottish government just swinging their dick.
It kind of is, but I used to do quite a lot of things with houses, and I'm not going to tell what, but I used to do quite a lot with this. And when you go into a conservation area, it doesn't mean that there's wild animals or things like that in there. It means that they want to keep.
Oh, you can't change. You can't
the
change
houses.
the. Okay, you can't change the what is the architecture.
Yeah,
Well, you can see both
architecture.
sides of this, because if this is like a family neighborhood and it's fairly quiet, I don't think those exist, but let's just say it is quiet. And you could see the house over the way. You know, that big sort of, it looks like a turret in the background there. That neighborhood looks a certain way, and when you sign the lease, and it's a conservation area like common sense says, this neighborhood's going to look a certain way. It would be like setting up a block of flats in Picket Fenceville in America. The people wouldn't have it. So I can see both sides of this one, but it's a shame. It's a damn shame.
See,
I'd
I
rather the
can't
kids
see
just
both
outside playing.
sides. I can't. You boys probably both going to hate me, but here you go. Listen, I live in the middle of nowhere. I got 2 acres here. There are people close to me, but all the people that are close to me have similar 2 or more acres. A lot of them have 10, 15, 20, 80 acres and up. And they're all like me. There are building codes where I live, but I've never had one enforced. I build whatever I want, smoke houses, chicken, anything. No one comes by and says, where's your building permit? No neighbors drive by slowly looking for a posted building permit.
Listen to that common sense. How do we get off this plantation?
No, so here we go. Let me say it quickly. I am taking a long time for this. So let me say it quickly. The problem is people choose to live in these places. And then when the laws and the rules in the places that they live are enforced, why didn't this guy that looks like a really nice house, it looks like he's got money to do really nice stuff, why didn't he take his child and go, 40 kilometers outside of town or miles or whatever you all measure it by, and actually go to a place where he could do what he wanted and let his son be a boy?
Because unfortunately, you would have to have bought the land first to be able to do it, or rent it, and then still would have had to get planning permissions anyway.
See, this is the other thing is like, on the one hand, I think planning permissions are a load of shit. Like, I don't think the concept is a load of shit. I think, particularly up here in Scotland, and particularly given how difficult it is to even get a house up here, planning permission rules are ridiculous. They're absolutely astoundingly, like, it's ridiculous. Bordering on satire how specific and needly they are. But on the other hand, is if you sign the lease and you give your word legally, you're not going to fuck around, and then you don't get the planning permission first, and then you go and build the thing and are surprised when somebody says, "Well, you didn't consult us." I don't know, like, it's not it seems very authoritarian though, doesn't it?
But you can't feel bad for him. You cannot feel you were on the path, and then now you're going to go away from it, and common sense is going to pipe up and probably say that agree. But no, he knew what he was signing. Okay, go ahead then, because I thought you were just going to jump on with him, common sense.
No, I definitely wasn't. I was going to say that, unfortunately, that you knew when you moved into an area, especially when it's a conservation area as well, you have to sign paperwork saying that you're not going to change anything, to say that you're going to keep in spirit with the grade listed buildings that are there. That's the reason why they have a conservation area on the houses. So he knew what he was doing to begin with. Now, I disagree with everything that's been put into place on that. I disagree with it. But the law is the fucking law. It's there for a reason.
Well, the thing is, though, that I have known people who've tried to build things and they've changed the planning permission laws since the people have gotten the houses. So when they bought the house, they would be allowed to do something. Then some fucker down in Holyrood says, "Oh, we're changing the rules."
Change your mind.
Yep.
And it's not like that. It was your garden before they were in office. So I don't know. Like it depends. I'm anti-authoritarian by nature, so I kind of want to tell the council to fuck off anyway, just because they're the council. But yeah, he did give his word legally.
Yeah.
But I know people who need planning permissions for like B&Q sheds. Like, it's astounding.
Yeah. No, I completely not agree with you. I don't think that the council should have anywhere near the power that they do. But you also have to remember that the council is what you are renting your land off of, so to speak. So it's their land, not yours.
Yeah.
As hard and painful for me is to say, that's what it is. It's like me then changing the idea of a council to be in a private outfit. The private outfit is then letting you rent off of them, but they're telling you that you can't do anything. It would still be the same thing for the private aspect, wouldn't it?
So in other words, this guy doesn't own his property? Is that what you're saying?
By the looks of it, he doesn't.
Well, I thought that he owned it, but he was in like a homeowners association where they were saying, because let's face it, you can own your lot, you can own your land, but be in a place where you're in a homeowners association, and they decide what the rules are. I've been in places in North Carolina. The Pinehurst No. 7 is one of the most exclusive country clubs in the United States of America. Pinehurst No. 2 is probably the most exclusive, but they don't build houses there. It's already all owned by the Corporation of Pinehurst. But No. 7, they build houses there. Listen, common sense, you can't paint your bathroom. If you have a party at your house and somebody realizes your bathroom, I ain't even shitting. And these people, I lived there and worked there long enough to tell you that they enforce this shit.
Yeah,
If one of the people find out that you did, no. And what their argument is, oh, you're lowering prices for. So I don't know if this guy, if he is the homeowner, I'm going to say this because I said something earlier and I want to clarify it with you, Common Sense, with you, because I got a bone to pick with you over this.
God damn it.
if he owns the property,
yeah,
well, then I would say he should have, as I said before, bought a place like out where they don't have that law. But if he doesn't own the property, well, I defer to what you said. Well, then he's, he just signed up and he's there and he doesn't own it, so he's in a bad position.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you meant too? You kind of made me feel like you were saying this guy is just, hey, he can't really afford the property because that's what you said. He can't afford the land. So he's in a bad position.
I think what Common Sense.
No.
Well,
I can speak for. I can speak for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to.
What I was saying was that if it was his land, then it's a case that he should be able to do what he wants. But the point is that even if it is his land, when he actually bought it, it would have been bought in a conservation area. So he would have had to sign up to a contract. But even if it's not his land and he bought and got it on the council, then he has no stake to be able to change it anyway because it's under the council's land, not his.
Well, fuck you then. I got no argument. Because at first, because what I thought you were saying is that even if he didn't own it, he kind of should have been able to do whatever he wanted to do. No, I actually believe. Look, I don't want to be a dick. But looking at the elaborate shit he did, no, he should actually be in trouble. Not only should no one be defending him, but to just do that kind. And then, yes, it looks great. I'm not saying anything about the art, the work or nothing. I'm just saying that to make that kind of a radical change, not owning the property, he should be looking at least having to take the property back to what it was before at his own expense.
Which is what they've asked him to do. But, I mean... Look, the bloke himself tried to do a good thing. He tried to do a good thing. Yes, we all agree that he's done something very, very stupid overall and probably should have gone to the council first and done whatever. But he did try to do it from a goodness of his heart. He's not built a shed so he can build an alcohol brewery at the back of it.
Goodness to who, though? Common Sense. Goodness to who?
Well, to the children and the children's friends that are obviously going to come over and play. Now,
all right, to his boy, to his son.
And the people that are in the area as well. The children are that age as well, that are around in that area, that can come and play on the pitch without worrying about getting stabbed in a local park or worrying about lights in a local park or whatever. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
See, that's the thing is up here, there really aren't places for kids to play sports. The local sports centre I have in my area just now, and this was the same where I grew up as well, you had to pay like £3 a pop. It's $5 now just for a use of a pitch for an hour, and they were outdoors, so you're actually just paying for the lights. And if you played without the lights, they would get the police to come and move you on. Like, that's the sort of shit you're dealing with. So
but they were always full with people there, right?
Football pitch.
But they were always full with the lights on, weren't they?
Not in my area. They weren't.
No, they never got used, and they shut them down.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
No one couldn't afford to use them, so they shut them down, and the kids will then play in the park, but that won't actually happen because all that happens is the parks are full of dog shit and knives, and junkie needles. So it's like no wonder the guy, his kid won't be allowed to play in the street. No, you can't play ball games in streets and pretty much
conservation areas because it might break a window, and you have to get the original or close enough to the original window.
It seems like some council member would have the sense to, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, to stand up and say that, yes, he broke the rules, but look what the guy was willing to do. And if they could get some video of that, of the kids playing there, oh, man, how far would that go? Well, it would never happen,
Ogre, for the reason that because people are so desperately clinging to the property as an asset in this country just now.
Yeah.
That if he devalues in any way the law and the people around his house, there will be hell to pay because people
burn him.
Desperately need the price of their
burn
house.
Him at the stake. Got to put him on the stake.
And you have to also realise that it's the SNP that are in charge as well, and they're even more socialist than Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, and I mean, they're all mental as well, by the way. There could be any number of reasons that they've done this. It could be like, I've heard it's that sort of, it's not the outrage, it's another thing, but it's like, do you know the sorts of people who get angry at people having their kids go to private school? And it's like, in a heartbeat, that person, if they had the money, would send their kid to
Send
private
them,
school.
yes, right away.
But it's a problem for somebody else to do it. And like the SNP have a big thing with that, but they'll do this with everything. So they would
That's
be
so
like,
do
oh,
Labour.
hang on. If this guy, maybe his excuse, let's say his excuse is the kid can't go to the park because the park's too dangerous. Well, they can't have that being the reason, so they just say, oh shit, fuck, clamp down on the guy,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think most politicians actually do exactly what you've just said, where they say that, public schools are absolutely amazing. Where did your kid go? Diane Abbott is a massive fucking hypocrite for this, where she advocates for public schools, but yet all of her 3 children have gone to private schools. None of them have gone to a public school.
None of these rich people's kids go to. Are you kidding me? None of them. The politicians, your prime minister, your MPs, your local constabulary, your ministers, and they all their kids go to. God,
most of them. I wouldn't say all, but most of them.
Not all. Hashtag not all ever, but most of. And I'll say this: in the United States, the child of every senator, every senator goes to private school. The child of I'm just gonna make a wild guess on this one. 80% of congressmen and women go to private school. And so that's just plain and simple. You are not going to find the child of a senator here in the United States going to, PS 97 in the Bronx. Ain't gonna fucking happen. Why? Because they're cowards. Because they don't want to look at the fact. Because since 1974, when the United States government took over education in this country, the IQ has steadily dropped, correlational with the amount of money spent in the converse. To make that very simple, the more money they spent, the stupider Americans got.
It's true, though.
Well, this is the same thing that's happened over here. Is people were a lot more tolerant of politicians using their money, because politicians have salaries and they do other jobs. They're not. The idea is that you're not supposed to be only a politician. You can be something else as well, and that was indeed encouraged. And then they're obviously married most of the time as well. So they've got a fair bit of income, usually. So people were kind of annoyed in the sense of, fuck that guy, because, you send his kid to private school, you can't afford it. He's pushing you around because he's a politician. But people didn't get ballistic about it until they got rid of the grammar schools and then refused to bring them back on a number of occasions. And because of that, people are really intolerant of politicians not using state schools now, because grammar schools were like you got a test, and it was a school for if you were skint but quite smart. And people didn't like it because they thought it was elitist. But I would love to see this neighborhood more closely, because whatever the reason of conservation that this has been taken down for, it's nothing to do with conservation. I'll put money down on that. So I would love to know
it looks more modern,
because
right?
of the neighbors, or because it's too noisy, or the neighbors are worried about him being like riffraff because he's got a football in his back garden, or I'd be really interested to know.
Look, I'm popping at the seams. I was just sounding like a pudding singing away in the copper. But I keep thinking of this because you're saying conservation. When I think of conservation, I'm thinking, there must be Victorian houses there, right? All the houses in the neighborhood are 180 years old or older, but it really looks modern there. So I'm with you. Why was this considered a place where they need to enact this?
If you look at the actual picture right in front, which is a Victorian set of flats, you might see that even though it's brown stonework buildings, they're all old.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I can't deny that. All right, because this is white and modern. What if this wall that he had around it, the perimeter, what if it was the stone that this, the back of the house? What if it was fieldstone, flagstone? I think that's called, actually, not fieldstone. What if that was flagstone, just like that?
Well, that's why I want to know more about the area, Ogre, because the thing is that some of these places you go to, even putting the AstroTurf down instead of real grass would be an infraction.
Right. Well, then
even the fence would be an infraction.
Well, then he could go do a good GoFundMe and put real grass, because this is what I'm going to say, lads. is don't you lot over yonder hop, skip, and jump across the pond over there think a lot of football? Isn't that one of the things that you know? It's like we learn. I seem to remember Churchill, or was it Churchill? It was maybe it was Wellington. One of them said that it's on the field of skirmish. It's where we meet and play football and cricket, where we learn the techniques to defend our island.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is important. This is how we boys play and become men.
Just to quickly add to that, if anybody wants to realize how much for Americans themselves, just for this little nugget of information that's out there, on Christmas Day, I believe in 1943 or 1944, literally the year before Armistice Day, not Armistice Day, you know what I mean, when we finished the war and that, they actually played a game of football in no man's land, the English and the Allies against Germany.
Yep,
That's what we love football.
VE Day, by the way, it was VE Day.
Yeah,
yes, they did. They played a game of football. And if I remember correctly, they like to say it was a tie, but Germany won by 1.
Yes. Yeah, they scored a penalty.
Well, the reason the discrepancy is there is because this happens so frequently.
Yes.
All the way up the...
Maybe I read too much into that. That seemed very funny to me. What was that crumble point? Because I'm not going to make any Nazi jokes now.
There's discrepancies because this happened all the way up the front.
Mm.
The soldiers were so demoralized that they just fucking wouldn't fight each other, and that's part of the reason they had to end the war, was that morale was so low and the soldiers were finding out they had more in common than they did with their commanders.
Daggone right.
And the sniper towers were empty, people wouldn't machine gun,
All right, let's do it. Common sense. We keep on meandering, and we're gonna keep doing it. But I know that the last two are important to you. But the sands are running out of my hourglass fast, and I'll stretch it as long as I can. I just want to get a couple other things. I did the dishes already, but while I was being lazy and told you I was here on the nod waiting to do this stream, I should have actually done a couple other things that would have been done now, but they're not. And as a Jew, I want to tell you all something. As I practice what I preach. It's my Sabbath, and the sun is setting. And I'm going to feel a little guilty, but I'm going to keep here and hang out here. And I am going to do some things tonight when the first 3 stars are out. And for a Jew like me, that feels a little bad. I shouldn't be working. I should be, reflecting on all the marvels that are the wonders.
I will make sure that we get through as quickly as possible then.
Oh, yes. And back then, now I see that I talked more than enough and you have the thing up. This here, before you carry on, the guy that wrote this, if he was dead asleep, I'd like to squat over him, and like that movie with Jaquan Phoenix, I'd like to shit in his mouth.
Damn. God damn.
Oh, carry on. So what is this about? This is Jordan Peterson and a giant look, and he's mocking the lobster. Come on. Just carry on. I read this whole thing. It was painful. I felt like somebody was waxing my nuts.
I can already tell this is going to be ridiculous because Jordan Peterson, and I said in the chat, I don't know if you guys caught it, but I met him last week.
Yeah, you did meet him last week. I didn't catch it. And so far as you and Memes have both met Dr. Peterson.
And only briefly because the fucking it was so busy, obviously.
But you you actually said, "Hey, Dr. Peterson," and that was
Yeah, shook his hand and said
hello
and
well done, mate.
But he's one of he's so fucking funny. The man is so funny. He's always cracking jokes. So this article's already horseshit.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Anyway, we'll get into the article, then we can actually talk about it, because the main reason why I wanted to do it is probably the same reason why Ogre did after he read it. It's just simple, laughable, and hypocrisies there actually just... Anyway, right. Pity Jordan Peterson, full stop. Can a giant lobster fuck's sake, I can't speak. Analogy, yes, I can't speak today. Ever replace a sense of humor? The leading member of the self-styled intellectual dark web likes to think he is locked out, quotation, of mainstream media, which makes his interview in this month's GQ all the more revealing. 12 rules for life, and him swearing and getting his finger chopped off by a lobster.
Yeah.
Because that's
It's his
grown up,
middle
isn't it?
finger
That's
too, by the
something-
way, which and that
Yep.
to you British that don't know, that's just like the 2 fingers up. It means the same thing, like up yours. You know, it's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, did you know where that originated from?
Like sticking it up your nose, right? I don't know.
No. Hang on just 1 second. When the English were fighting the French, they used these 2 fingers.
Oh
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
able
Okay,
to
go
pull
ahead. Yeah,
onto
tell
the-
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I
They
do know,
use
but I
those-
want you to tell everybody.
Yeah, they use these 2 fingers to be able to pull onto their longbows. But
Yes.
whenever the French used to catch them, they used to chop them off. So in times when they would come up to collect the bodies of the French when they were actually doing, the English would keep on sticking their 2 fingers up to say, "Oh, I got my 2 fingers. I got my 2 fingers."
Yes.
So
Well,
that's
it was
where that
another thing. It was
originated
actually, and the King of France said that they were going to cut the fingers off of all the longbowmen. Which you got to
Yes.
understand. Back in the day, the English would they had the equivalent of the nuclear bomb. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no one. The English boys would start practicing with a full size longbow. You know,
Yep.
when they were 8, 9 years old. It took a tremendous. And anyway. Yes, that's so
Yeah.
cool. I should have answered that correctly, and I feel ashamed I did. So here we go, though.
The
He's chopping the
Plantagenets-
middle finger off, and oh, go ahead, brother.
Oh, I was just going to say quickly, the Plantagenets made massive headway into France, retaking bits of France just with the
Yeah.
English longbowmen in a completely botched and shitty war
Yes.
campaign.
Oh, they were
Yeah,
fucking
and they
unreal.
still managed.
There's a
Because
guy
of the
online right now that'll show you. He's kept alive the and because people think, well, long bowman, man, he can shoot like 50, 75 yards. No, this guy will
No.
show you balloons out to 150 yards and just pulling out of a quiver and thunk. It's called intuitive shooting, and it's what every Englishman practiced from the
Yep.
time he was 7, 8 years old. And good God, man, I mean, can you imagine too when you just had shields and swords and short bows that
Yeah.
were not accurate, even if you were good with it? And here come the English pinpointing you at 100 yards, pinpointing your fucking Adam's apple,
Yeah,
at 100
well,
yards.
That's where all the shield walls and everything else like that would have to have been made, because that's what we used to do, as well as obviously tar and whatnot being dropped down on them. But generally, it was because of arrow fire. And if you could get arrow fire from a long fucking distance, as in the English with the long bows, then generally you'd be able to stay out the siege. And that was the point of most of the Middle Ages wars anyway, to make sure that you could last the siege. You could outlast the people that were sieging the castle to the people that were in the castle.
Hey, I did notice Mrs. Hyde right here, who, by the way, gentlemen, would probably look good with 2 of our penises in her mouth and one in her
Okay.
vagina. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is this young lady, I did notice, tries very hard to be wise. Her first real crack at Dr. Peterson after you get through the Knights of Drawn and the Rains Who Come and blah, 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 blah. It comes, she calls his book 12 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter.
Nice.
That's
right.
That's
But
how
that's-
this person starts.
But that's actually partly what it was written for, so it's not really a dig at him. He's made that joke himself already.
Okay.
If she knew anything about him, she would know that. Like, he's made that joke.
Yes, and I own the book. I listened to it. I got it on audiobook and hard copy. I think it's a wonderful tome. It's pretty lengthy and it's heavy. In the beginning, it draws you in if you're not into psychological things, like psychology textbooks. And then about after you get a third of the way through, it really gets to the meat, the PSY part of it. But that said, this woman didn't mean it because of that. She's actually trying to. She goes on. I mean, I'll pick other things out. I just thought that first one, and maybe that's the worst reason. Crumple Point. Maybe that's the worst reason is because she's being a dick and doesn't even know why.
She knows why. She feels threatened by it. But I'm just going to go read through it. Anybody, when I read through it, that wants to stop, I'll probably stop a couple of times myself anyway. But anybody that does, just let me know and I'll stop and we can carry on talking about it. So the nights have drawn in, the rains have come, and it's time to start unraveling some of the lines in the Lost in Showbiz Winter Collection. Let me say right now that one of our absolute key pieces will be Jordan Peterson. Quite how it's taken this column so long to alight lovingly on the winningest public intellectual of our age is unclear. but please now consider me officially very into him. This week, I read Jordan's most famous book, 12 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. As like I said, a little bit stupid, but whatever. And found it an absolute scream. Forgive me, the opus is actually called 12 Rules for Life. But it certainly forced me to tear down every other thought leader posted peeling off my bedroom wall. Wow. Just fucking wow. Nobody wants anything to say about that?
Well, no,
right,
I
no,
mean,
I
this is
didn't
a
understand.
long article, so I'm saving it up.
Okay,
I'm heaping it up.
Okay,
Although Crumple Point may have something, sounded like.
No, I was just saying that was just a horribly written paragraph, and I didn't even understand that was
All of
supposed to be
this entire thing is so ridiculously convoluted that look, I went to college longer than I wanted to admit. I have a couple advanced degrees, and I still found myself with some of her references having to go to the internet. I'm not gonna lie. When you write something this convoluted, you're really trying to get to a group of people that just took the same class as you did. I don't want to I can't stress that enough. Is all of this stuff that she mentions in here, you know, all of the references to ancient Greece and to their ways and means, is all of it, is it arcane? No. But the way she laces it together, I have a degree in divinity, which means I studied Greece in depth.
Yeah.
And her references to the Oracle of Delphi, man, I had to go look. I had to go try to find why it was a joke. So look, I don't want to stop you, but this is a long article from a person that is so full of venom. They make a gangster rapper seem like a daggone, you know, a kindergarten teacher. Mate. Yes, you know, this is ridiculous.
Drill rap now.
It's what?
It's drill rap now that everybody's so angry about. It's darker than gangster rap, apparently. Anyway, it's just cultural references. But the reason why I am old. That's fine. The reason why I actually pulled that up was simply because of the way that she writ it. But it certainly forced me to tear down every other thought leader poster peeling off my bedroom wall. I mean, apart from the way that's actually writ is absolutely shocking, but for what it actually implies, that this book was apparently written for her, but she didn't like it, but she's going to take the mickey out of it so much that she's going to try and say, oh, it was really good that it made me pour down every thought-provoking person I've ever spoken to or about. It's fucking retarded. It's absolutely retarded.
Yeah, I'm getting down to it now. It's down in here, but she does go there. I mean, she goes to comparing them, the intellectual dark web, to a wimpy team of superheroes. Like,
she's trying very hard to show that she's not read the book. She's really doing her best.
Right, let's carry on. As we said, it's a long fucking long bloody thing. Let me get past a couple of paragraphs, and then we can all start having a go. I am highly excited to get around to Jordan's only other published book, Some Kind of Vast Theory of Everything, which took him 12 years to write. Oscar Wilde wrote The Picture of Dorian Gray in about a fortnight. So imagine how much better. Either way, even if it is only a fortnight, to try and suggest that it took Jordan Peterson 12 years to actually write the 12 Rules for Life is ridiculous, because he didn't actually even start it for fucking ages.
She's talking about Maps of Meaning, which she won't read because it's 650 pages, and she won't get 20 pages through it.
Come on, boys. Listen. Can we cut right to the meat of this? Can we really? Because I really want to get to this. We got to get to this, where she says, I'm not even being sarcastic. A lot of these guys who hung around the ancient Athens debating society, while helpmates of one sort, or this in parentheses, so they hung around the debating society, parentheses, while helpmates of one sort or another took care of their day-to-day shit for them. In other words, privileged white people. You got to read between the lines while we're going to this, but I'm going to get to the heart of this. We're going to slay this dragon. So she's not being sarcastic. These assholes in Athens that hung around the debating society while they were being pampered by other people were quite clearly insufferable edgelords. Come on. Diogenes, she says Diogenes lived in a large urn and would absolutely have been into Bitcoin. Diogenes, I don't know if y'all know who these people are. If anybody cares to, as we go into this, I'll tell you who some of these people are. We should all raise Diogenes up as a pillar of manhood and of self-abasement for one's betterment. So anyway, I'll try to stop like that again. So he says, come on, he's an edgelord. Diogenes lived in a large urn and would absolutely have been into Bitcoin. In some accounts, the Oracle of Delphi told him to deface the currency, which seems not entirely Delphic of her, though he found a way to make it so and decided she meant he faced the currency of prevalent ideas. Man, if you knew that, I looked it up. So anyway, it's so make it to me. So listen, what this is all about, she tells on herself right here, where she says that Diogenes took an oracle from Delphi, took one of her pronouncements, one of her prophecies, and twisted it. And she does it in a way that misrepresents the twisting of it. She didn't say anything about currency. She said something about the produce of the people. And so he put it back to her and said, well, you are the produce of our people and you are an oracle. So you're our greatest goddess. Therefore, and this is all of, if you read between the lines. So let me go to the end of this too, man. And I will let you boys, if you can, I think both of you are smart enough to comment on this. So Delphi made it so decided to face currency problem. Arguably, then, Diogenes is the Jordan Peterson analog, as he was the Agora's leading no fopper. Listen to this. Hang on,
Fapper.
Yeah, fapper, because she's gonna say she's bringing like masturbation. Hang on, that's wrong. He was the Agora's leading scourge of pleasure seeking. But I'm pretty sure he'd have been one of the senior thinkers in today's anti-masturbation movement. Is she so mad, common sense? And I would like you boys to comment on this, because she thinks we're too stupid to comment on this paragraph. That's why I bring up this paragraph. She does. Did she want us to believe that a guy that says there is no... I want to ask you too, before I answer this, and just a yes or no. Is there dignity... And this is kind of a trick question because it could be either way. But is there dignity in masturbating and watching pornography alone on the internet?
Yes.
Okay. Crumple point, is there? Yes or no?
No, but shit's got
no. Okay. No. So look, I can even go further. But so here we go. It doesn't matter. This is my point, boys. I'm done here, and I will sip my wine. Why? Because we got two intelligent people. One saying her whole point. Her whole convoluted, look at me, I can say some names from ancient Greece and try to mix up what they were talking about and how they lived into what I want you to think. One says masturbation, maybe it's dignified, and one says maybe
she's
it's not.
Misrepresenting something he said, as usual. What he said was that he thinks it's dangerous psychologically that people, and this is why people develop porn addictions, and not sex addictions, but specifically porn addictions. It's because he says there's a problem when you divorce a pleasure stimulus from where it comes from. So if you divorce sex from a relationship, or even, orgasm from sex, you're going to start having psychological issues. And if you're doing this all the time, then, it's not good for you. And that's basically all he said about it. But she's made it her whole article because it's easier to talk about.
I lean more toward common sense, guys. I lean more toward common sense, guys. And on this one, that yes, I think there is. I don't agree with him on that because I think there's dignity in it. But common sense, why would there be?
I agree that there is dignity in it. For instance, if you were to say that you are already with a partner, for instance, but you're not getting that much at this minute in time, is it more dignified to go and cheat on that person, or is it more dignified to go and whack one out?
Right. And you know what? So there we go. This person wants to put us all in a book, common sense. She wants to
Well-
make it all that we would all agree with this, and that every one of us would hang our head when that's exactly what I was thinking. I knew you'd go
Well,
there
she's
too. Well,
already-
wouldn't it be better for me to watch porn and pull one off instead of actually betraying the one that I love? And there's dignity in that.
Yeah, I completely not agree. But I think the thing is with this whole paragraph is that she's trying to stretch. I'm sure that with what you said and where she's going, she's been doing a lot of research into doing this. I'm sure this has took her more than an afternoon to write. I'm sure this has took her at least a week to be able to collect all the references and whatnot. Simply because she's trying to over assert her intelligence or her intellectual prowess to try and say that she's on a similar level to somebody that is a clinical psychologist that has been doing this for God knows how many years of his life, and yet she's trying to suggest that she's on the intellectual precipice as the same as he is, but yet
Or above it.
or above, and yet she's not trying to do that with her intellectual honesty. She's honestly trying to do this by saying, I'm morally superior to you. Which, if anybody is trying to say that they are as clever or saying my intellect is as good as yours, why would you have to go to a moralistic standpoint rather than disproving his points by point?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I completely agree. And the fact that she's trying is obviously quite telling in itself, because nobody on the so-called intellectual dark web is trying to be on the intellectual dark web.
Right.
They're not tryhards. They're not trying to outdo anyone, except in the general sense that we all try and
Well, and
outdo
they're being
people
put there.
generally. But
You said it.
she's-
No one's trying to be there.
Yeah, she's
No.
bitter. She is. Firstly, she's not read his stuff. That's blatantly obvious. Secondly, she's not listened to the small YouTube clips that she's misunderstood. Thirdly, anybody can go through a brief guide to Greek philosophy available at Waterstones and other good bookstores, pick out a few names and misunderstand the stories from them and write an article about it. And fourthly, anybody who knows anything about English novel writing knows that it was a fashionable thing to say one whacked out a novel in a couple of days in a reverie. But that didn't happen. They planned them for years in advance, like modern writers do. But it was a fashion to say, oh yes, I just did it in a feverish episode. It was done in one night. I wrote it and then I edited it afterward. It was just a fashion. So A Portrait of Dorian Gray was not written in 2 weeks. And that's a novel. Maps of Meaning is a 600-page compilation.
Are you the one that said that today? Oh, she said that. Dorian
Yeah.
Gray was written into. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
so
said that.
she's full of shit, because everybody knows that that's not the case. Because
Man, I was
Jekyll and Hyde had the same story about it, and that wasn't true either. He took me like years to write that.
I was a young man, and I was talking to a pastor that had taken me on and given me a position that I hadn't quite earned yet, though I was a little old for the position that I had. So in other words, I went in there with a little ego, and I should have been happy that I was advanced way ahead of where I was in the time that I'd been doing what I've been doing, even though I was behind what most people my age were doing. I hope you all understand this.
Yeah.
And listen, I told this pastor, Pastor Henderson, I can say that name. Good luck looking that one up. There's got to be a million of them. And I said, he said, I said, you know what, Pastor Henderson, I think fast, I talk fast, and sometimes people just don't get me. And he said, you know what, son, you got half that right. You talk fast. So, but while you're talking fast, you're not thinking at all. Man, I was so mad too to hear this from him. I was so mad when he was saying this. And he said, you're not thinking at all. He says, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure you ever think before you open your mouth. I had to think a long time about what he said.
Yep.
And he didn't fire me. I worked for him for 2 years after that. It was a wonderful time. I learned a lot more from him. I learned how to shave every day. I learned how to wear a suit and put my tie in a double Windsor because it looks better. I learned a lot from him about being meticulous and about doing things, about not practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. And if you do something perfectly and practice it, you'll do it perfectly. Anyway, this is all driven to stop us from being men, to stop men from, because she talks about his facial, the way he looked while he was having a debate, Common Sense, right? You've read this whole article. And she talks about,
I haven't read the whole article at all. That's the reason why I wanted to go through it. But I like the next paragraph because it sums everything up, which you're literally just
we're
about
in the
to
meat
say.
of it. Read that one then. We're in the meat of
Yeah.
this. Read the next one.
If you need a further Peterson catch-up, I can recommend a video posted by GQ magazine this week in which Jordan is interviewed by the New Statesman Helen Lewis. And she goes on to say, and this is really telling on her ideology, that she's not interested in what Jordan Peterson has to say. She's more interested in what people do to denigrate Jordan Peterson. So it's hard to pick my favorite moment from the nearly 2-hour-long encounter, but I very much enjoy the bit where Lewis reasons, remember, she doesn't state factually, but reasons, lobsters don't get depressed. I think you're anathemopalizing to a ridiculous degree. They are creatures that urinate out of their faces. What does that even mean? That just proves to the fact that Jordan Peterson was saying, no, they're the closest animals that have relationships.
Their serotonin levels are similar to ours.
They have,
Anthropomorphizing is only saying that you're making an animal, you're attributing a human thought patterns to animals. We do it all the time.
Well, this is what happens when an educated
It's an allegory.
fuckwit contends with a real intellectual. Right?
Yeah.
Hang on, say that again.
This is what happens when an educated fuckwit contends with a real intellectual. Because this woman, Jordan Peterson, wrote his book, and he said, right, I could outline with chemical symbols and an exact explanation biologically how the lobster serotonin social tracking system works, and
that's what I was getting to, social tracking.
I could do that, or I could tell a little story that says the same thing.
Yeah.
So he's used the word depressed, and he said that antidepressants work on lobsters. He's never actually claimed that is a literal truth. He's used it as a linguistic device. And she, being an idiot who's clearly got a degree, but an idiot nonetheless, has taken this as rote and tried to challenge him on something he's not said because she's misunderstood it to the point of thinking he said it. And he then is completely confused by both her attitude and her level of misunderstanding.
Yeah. I don't think that she's misunderstood him, though. I think that she's done it. I think she understood him and understands him. This Lewis, not the person who wrote this article, but Lewis herself, understood exactly what he was trying to get at, but didn't like the fact that he was using an analogy where people would actually understand exactly what he meant and straight off the bat, and it picked up so much credibility as well, or so much newsworthy attire, because it was just like, oh, the lobster man, so on and so forth.
Well, he was using analogy and anthropomorphizing. That's what he does. I mean, listen, when you're in the field that Dr. Peterson's in, was in a minor part, was in the same field. You try to find interesting ways to convey your ideas, because to get those ideas, you had to read dusty tomes and think about shit while you were half asleep under a tree somewhere. Lord knows I did. It's not easy. Anybody that wants to disagree with me, go get a Psychology 211 handbook. Go get it's about this and read it. Just read it like you're going to read a novel. You tell me how long it takes before you're asleep.
No, quite a while. No, I'm joking.
For me, yes,
you know
but for most of you all, you'd be asleep right away. Crumble Point, maybe he'd read it too, but there's very few nerds like us. Very few.
I really wanted to get to I not really want to. I've only just read the next paragraph. But if anybody really who's still listening or watching or whatever really wants to understand where this woman is coming from, she's not critiquing Jordan Peterson's points, not at all.
Not at all.
None of it is done to correct it. Exactly.
A lot of fancy ad hom.
Well, it's around the back door way of just saying that I don't like you and you're a cunt.
Backhanded ad hom.
Yeah.
No, carry on. Common sense because she says, then again, it must be Peterson spends most of the interview looking like he's about to urinate out of his face. She read that. And then so that is just ridiculous, because she's talking about serotonin and that is the way they release it and all these other things. She must I'm with Crumble Point. She read the book, but she's trying to make you believe she didn't. Other takeouts from the GQ interview says Peterson dresses and looks like the third Gruber brother from the Die Hard franchise.
Yep.
As all the world cinema fans will know, the first brother to lose to Bruce Willis's grubby vested cop was played by the late great Alan Rickman in Die Hard, while the second was played by Jeremy Irons, himself blue vested in Die Hard with a Vengeance. Peterson very much presents as the third sibling that Mother Gruber kept at home because, I mean, come on, boys.
He was chesty.
I'm trying to
without the self-knowledge to accept he is a character actor rather than a leading man.
Come on,
literally
man.
just attacking the person by saying, "Well, he's a bit weird,
What
isn't
a
he? He's
dick."
not great."
Now, lads, I know that you both and myself have a real problem with people trying to read between the lines instead of what's written. However, I'm going to
No, we love to
tender
read
to
between the
yourselves
lines. Do it.
the hypothesis that this woman knows the GQ journalist and that she was forced to back down embarrassingly so many times during that interview that she is now caping for her friend.
Oh, definitely.
And they're licking each other's gash.
And
they're in the back
it as a
room.
party.
They do a couple lines of coke and they start licking each other's gash. And they fucking, that these people are all, it's so incestuous. This might as well say, instead of written by, who is this? Look, it says written by Marina Hyde. It might as well say written by Incestuous Incesto Jr. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. This stuff makes me sick. It really does. This lady.
I think this whole article is what we would literally just call a hit piece. There is no factual evidence in this. This is completely and utterly going on her opinion. It's completely and utterly just saying, well, this is what I think, even though that this person I'm disagreeing with is a clinical psychologist that backs everything he says up with point by point data analysts.
Yes.
And yet she's just coming up with, well, I think that he looks like the person from fucking
Die Hard.
Yes.
He's a faggot. So what is this? Go on right here, Crumple Point. Are you with us on here? Do you see where it says perhaps it might be? You see that, Crumple Point?
No, I
All right, I'll read it then. Common Sense will take over whenever he wants. We did the last one pretty good. We tag team it. Perhaps it might, because we're close to the end here. Perhaps it might be kinder if his agent or publicist helped him to come to terms with this. As things stand, each of the several times Peterson intones, "life is suffering," all I could think about was how very much hotter it was in The Princess Bride when Carrie Elwes' character, Wesley, goes to Robin, right?
Oh.
What does he say here, Common Sense? Was that? Come on.
No, you do it. You do it. I can't.
Life
give it
is
credence.
pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently I should do it like, life is, I can't do Carrie Elwes. Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is saying something. Anyway, that was nowhere near. But he says, I mean, it's so as long as it's Carrie Elwes. So, I mean, I'll take that sort of line off Wesley all day long. But this guy, this 56-year-old adult in the steampunk-like outfit who cries on stage at his own righteousness, how to put this tactfully? I'm sorry, I messed it up. I'm, how to put this tactfully, not feeling it in quite the same way. You know what you'd feel? You'd feel if you were bent over and Common Sense guy was 6 inches in your puss and I was 4 inches in your asshole while Crumple Point was trying to skull fuck you to death. You'd feel that, wouldn't you? You stinking fucking, you stinking lefty whore. You'd feel that, wouldn't you?
This is just a case of we've all known her sort before, so I'm fairly certain that she is just caping for her now embarrassed friend. But
definitely,
the other thing is, the little story that Ogre told earlier about the idols. This is a little idol to her own irrelevance because yes, it is. Saw a entirely packed out building to come and watch a man talk for 2 hours.
Yep.
And he was fucking hilarious, might I add, and he had to keep actually progressing through because he was making everybody laugh too much. So again, I don't know where this is coming from because he said something about Socrates got executed for corrupting the youth, and then he stopped and kind of looked at the audience and went, "Oh, I can't imagine what it's like to be accused of that. You know, like, he was, and you know, everybody's howling, and it was very funny. And the other thing is, like, at the end when he's standing on stage and everybody's applauding, and he got 3 standing ovations, and
Wow.
like at different points, I think he got a standing ovation when he came on,
Mm.
and then he got a standing ovation when he finished, and I think he got another one when he finished his Q&A. And he took a moment to just kind of take it in. Obviously, like he wasn't standing there like, look at me. He was obviously just like, this won't happen forever. I'm going to enjoy it, and then he walked off. And that's his life. That's his career. Now, this woman, and I've known lots of people like her, they wish that they could have a stage where they talk their drivel, and people ovate and clap, and that's their life, because they have no talent, and they just want the attention, right? And they hate Jordan Peterson and everybody like him because they get that, but they don't understand that you have to work for that. And he's the expert's expert, you know?
They don't understand that when they clap for Jordan Peterson, he looks around shocked, Crumple Point.
Yes.
Because he don't understand that they're clapping. He don't understand why. That's what makes him great. And this bitch can use all her convoluted shit that we just read. And she, I'm sure she's, you want to know the truth? I laughed at some of it. Some of it, I'll say again, I laughed at after I looked it up on fucking Google to find out what the hell she was talking about. And I'm not uneducated. When you're, I'll sum it up like this, because I cut you off, Crumple Point. You carry on. She's dog whistling.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, she is.
She's dog whistling to the educated left. She dog whistling.
You say educated.
Well, I got to, man, because, you know, it's very few people like yourself and the Britisher, you know, and I don't know about Crumple Point. I don't really know much about him like I do you boys. I could mention a couple others, though, that aren't, you know, they don't have no formal thing to show you where they're pulling out. But actually, you know what they used to call it, man, is horse sense. That's when some city slicker comes in and they're trying to sell you a bill of goods about some snake oil or how they want to buy your horses for $100 less than they're worth, or your corn, you know, the prices are down back in Louisiana. So they, and all this shit, horse sense. That's what the men have, and what it's being taken away from us, where we can smell that shit. Yep.
No, I completely agree. I mean, the whole thing with this article's, to me, is ridiculous, because all she's done is literally attack him. None of his points, nothing whatsoever. But yet she's able to write a whole hit piece against Jordan Peterson. But the hit is that he looks funny and he urinates through his face.
Yeah, he's got a steampunk-esque
He looks funny in one interview where he absolutely owned his interviewer. She had to back down on a number of points. Would have looked better if she'd just said, "No, what? You know what? You're right about that one, actually." She would have looked much better. But she came in hostile. She made the interview political when he's not a political person. He's trying to be cast as one a lot, but he isn't one. And because that was the thing, that she's trying to make him the usual political
Nazi right winger.
Yeah, exactly. And we have everybody who's, you know, going to watch this video, and the three of us here have all been in that place that we all know so well called the shit. And that's what Jordan Peterson is trying to help people get out of. Like,
yes.
The 12 Rules for Life, they're really quite remarkable in that you could take that book and you could apply it to any situation, and if you followed those rules, you'd be better off in that situation.
What a good book.
Like, if you imagine communist China, like how surveilled and how impoverished and how uneducated and how poor the population are there, those rules would help them as much as they help us over here. Like, it's
of course,
and it's
universal
a hard book to write. You know, like, he had to do a lot of research. It's basically a supplement to Maps of Meaning, which is the real magnum opus, which I've not fucking read yet because it is 650 pages and a lot of money.
Get it on audio, you'll be fine.
But like,
it only take 10 hours to read, it'll be fine.
And I mean, like, even our hit piece is rubbish, because he used to not dress snazzy. He used to just wear his lecturer clothes, and it was his wife and his publicist, incidentally, who said dude, you're gonna be touring a lot. Like, you
Yeah.
should probably buy yourself some nicer suits
But that's
to
the
show
thing,
the
though.
audience you're taking
Even
it seriously.
no, exactly. But the thing is with Jordan Peterson, and whenever he's interviewed, I always see him wearing a suit. Now, I don't always see him in a tie, but that doesn't fucking matter. But he's always wearing a trouser suit, a suit pair of trousers, and a suit jacket, and a white shirt or a type of shirt. What's steampunk about that? It's just dressing nice. I don't ever get that. And if it is a case of him dressing as a steampunk or has particular ways of doing something similar to that, are you saying that everybody that ever dresses steampunk is not worth listening to because they dress that way? Does that mean if somebody telling me that there's a fire in a fucking building that's wearing a fucking, I don't know, a bin bag around his fucking head and his body, does that mean I shouldn't listen to him because he's dressed funny, even though I can see the fucking flames in the building burning it down? It's just a ridiculous point of contention, that, isn't it? Oh, but he dresses funny. He pisses out of his face.
She says he dresses like one of the bad guys from Die Hard, which isn't the same as funny. That's just saying he dresses extremely sharply, really.
Exactly.
That was one of the jokes in the film was, oh, is that I can't remember the design, but is that a Westwood? I have two of those myself. Like they have that line in the movie.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So, but you can just, the bitterness oozes out of this article.
Oh,
And
you can definitely see that,
because they would love to be adored for the intellect they don't have.
But that's the thing. I mean, I was watching Jordan Peterson on the Scav channel when he did his interview in Scandinavia very recently, and he was talking about gender equality and everything else like that. And everybody was talking to him, trying to suggest, "Oh, you're not for gender equality." He's like, "Of course I am. I'm there for equal opportunities. Just because I don't believe that equal outcomes or equality of outcomes is a good thing doesn't mean that I'm not for equality of the genders. I just don't see that why I should force you to go into doing engineering when you don't want to, and you want to go into fucking nursing, and all the statistics point to that. So why would I force you to do something? Isn't that bad?" And
Boys, this is...
Go on.
Oh, no, carry on. This is going to go on for a while, I think. I will just let you know, Mrs. Ogre got out of work 15 minutes ago. She'll be home, and I'm not going to run because she's home, but she's got 2 days off after this, and she's bringing some food home, so I am going to split when she gets back. So I don't want it to be just abrupt.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I've got like another 30 minutes tops.
Yeah, that's fine.
Y'all will know. In fact, I'll just keep going until she gets here. Then I'll finally say, fuck you. But I want my final word. I actually want everybody to have it. But I don't want to stop the stream. So if y'all are going to keep going, just let me know, common sense. And then right before I go, I'll give you a little 2.5 minute snippet for my final word and then let y'all carry on.
No, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I don't really... I think we're rehashing this... I think we're rehashing the same points over again, though. I mean, she makes so many fucking stupid mistakes and so many stupid fucking...
I'm trying to get Jay Willie. Let me say this, too. I'm trying to get Jay Willie. He said, me, Ogre? Yes, who the fuck else would I be talking to? I'm not sure this person's ever been on.
Has he? Yeah.
So shall we have him back on? Because according to them, they know, I want to quote, basically everything about this inside out. So there are some subject I know basically everything about inside out. So maybe not this one. So I just reread it myself. So because they're saying, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they'd say that with this. So I thought they might come in with some really good insight. I could just tell by the little smirk. I got that. That's part of my final word. There's a reason why Common Sense Guy and I have been hanging out with so long.
Because we're so close to the end, I think we'll give it a miss for tonight. But if Jay Willie wants to come on at another point, then I'll be more than happy to go through other things and that.
Come on, Common. Come on, give him 10 minutes.
No,
I said it because no.
We've still got another story to do for fuck's sake.
Because it was like I asked him, and then are they going to be bad? Is that what you're saying? They've shown themselves they're just not have manners?
No, well, nothing to do with that. No, he's a good chap. He's the South African that I've had on before. He's a good chap.
Oh, all right. So anyway, I'm sorry, Jay Willie. What I mean to say, I shouldn't be begging him. I should be telling you. I spoke before I even asked, dude. And everybody else, I had memes on earlier, but I asked in the side chat, so I should have probably asked first. Sorry, mate. Carry on. I'll act like that doesn't happen.
No, it's not that. I've had Jay Willie on before. He's a good guy. It's just that because I want to get through these last 2 stories, and we've been streaming for fucking 3 hours.
No, carry on. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. I mean it. I should have asked. Carry on. Crack on.
But I do think the only thing that this lady's done is basically attack him just because she doesn't like him. And the thing is, she cannot diffuse any of his point or take away any of his points. So all she's doing is trying to say, well, I'm an intellectual too. Listen to me. And everybody goes, you're not an intellectual. You're pretending to be one. Now fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really annoys me about these people isn't just the lies and isn't just the venom and isn't just the bitterness and isn't just the obvious projection. The worst part about it is the fact that they can look at what's going on with Peterson and all they can take away from it is negativity. Like, there was 200 something people standing with me to meet him. That was difficult to get that opportunity, and it wasn't easy money as well, I can tell you. And it was difficult to get the opportunity, and it was difficult to get there, and it was difficult to stay that long, and all that sort of stuff. And everybody there was there to meet him because he had helped them out in their life in some way with his book.
Yep.
And it's like, you saw the protest. It was a miserable, crap protest, by the way. It was hilarious. It was like fucking 4 people standing in the frosty Scottish winter, freezing their arses off with a... Anyway, and it was like, you're looking around, and this place is packed to listen to a man speak about ideas. Like, that's fantastic. It's nice enough to see people do that for music or a film. But to just listen to a guy talking about important ideas and to see so many people so enthusiastically turn up for that, it's amazing. And it's such a cool thing that people are wanting that and that there's a market for that. And all she can take away from it is, she needs to cape for her friend who didn't do her job properly, presumably. That's all she can get out of it. Nothing positive.
Well, it's amazing that you've said about the Jordan Peterson, obviously helping everybody and things like that. The reason why I'm not comparing the two, even though that it's a correlation, but with Tommy Robinson, the reason why so many people like Tommy Robinson is not because, we're all racist and we all hate everybody. It's like, no, generally he's helping the people that are around him, and he's saying stuff that people want to say. And that's the same thing with Jordan Peterson in most aspects. Not because Jordan Peterson is a racist or whatever, because he's fucking not. Obviously, he is part of a tribe, a Native American bloody tribe. He's as far from racist as racist could fucking be. But it's the case of, because he said something that the left mainstream don't like, he's now a racist. He's now a Nazi. He's now a Nazi sympathizer because he went against the Bill C-16, which was a case of him Canada forcing them to enforce gender pronouns, that you had to say this and that. And he's a Nazi for saying that the government shouldn't be enforcing that. I don't understand where people come across this now where, Nazism means anything that we hate. No, there was an actual ideology from it. Not saying it was a good one, but there is an actual fucking ideology behind it. Maybe learn it.
This is I can't remember if it was you guys I was speaking to, but this is the bullshit onion I speak about, where you peel away the layers and layers and layers and layers of bullshit. And it's all bullshit. And you peel away so many layers and then it's actually just gone. There wasn't even a core of truth to it. It's just gone. And this is one of those. It's like, firstly, she's wrong to be looking at it politically. Second, she's wrong in all the ways you just outlined. Thirdly, she's wrong because she can't see anything positive in it. So on and so forth. And then once you've peeled away all those layers, she has nothing to say.
Yeah.
And, that's the thing, is I try and look at these things of, okay, maybe she knows something I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe she got her position for a reason, presumably, so maybe I should just give her a quick chance to change my mind about something or inform me in a new way. No, she doesn't even attempt that. And it's pathetic.
She got her position from doing a different position.
Well, probably. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say that I don't really think that there's too much to add to this story. Do you have any final words on both of this story? Not your final words, but on this story.
No, I understand it. No, so you mean including this my life and sex? So we're gonna hit this one too, right? Or is that it?
Yeah, no, that's what we're gonna hit. Basically, should people? But just
no,
on this story
let's get
first.
to this one. We got a little bit of time before we gotta wrap it up, and So yeah, if you want to
Yeah,
get
I'm
to
done
this
with this story, and I will shut up and let you get on with the article.
No, that's fine. I'm not going to read the article. It's just going to be a question because we don't really need the article for it. It's more of I was using the article as a preference to the question.
Oh yeah,
Is
'Cause
it?
I got
Is it?
my opinions about this one.
So do I. So do I. I have quite a lot of them. Do you think that in general that it's a good idea to save yourself for marriage rather than giving yourself out for one night stands? And obviously, we're all men here.
Shoot fire and save matches. Fuck a duck. See what hatches. Well, of course, in the absolute ideal, where marriage rates would be at their highest, in other words, how many people stayed together, and where children would have their best chance to succeed. And I don't mean be a millionaire, but succeed in life. And I mean, idyllic life, we would have to say that one would save oneself for marriage, and that would include young boys. And when I was young, in my household, there was no premium put on boys and girls. I remember my older brother bringing a girl home and my dad waking up and beating the shit out of him with the girl there saying, talking about, I remember the words shacking up in my house. I'll never forget that.
God damn.
And what my dad meant by that was, you ain't bringing no girl in here and fucking her when you ain't married to her.
Yeah.
No. The best thing, and I'm talking I'm not just talking out of my ass and in the wind, from a long line of evidence. The best thing. Well, I don't know. I want to find out if nope, don't matter. No, none of it. You can say what you want. Any argument can be brought forward, but the fact remains: the more abstinent couples are, the longer they stay married. The longer the marriage lasts. Have at it, boys. Tear me up. Tell me I'm old.
I kind of agree with you. I have different points, but I would like to hear Crumples on this one before I go rip roar into everything.
I am undecided. I would say if you replaced marriage with just long-term partner, I would be on that. Because it's one of these things that when I was younger, if I wanted sex all the time, and if I'd got it whenever I wanted it, it wouldn't have been good for me. Just like alcohol or sweeties or anything else that's good fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think that having less of it, and until my long-term misses, effectively, I'm glad it ended up that way. Whereas I never would have chosen it that way, and I think that's kind of what the story Ogre's telling is interesting to that, because it's like you absolutely are designed from the DNA up to want fucked all the time. And it kind of is up to that, sometimes wrongly, and everybody's different, everybody has the different proclivities, but it's up to the older people who've been through it to maybe say, look, no, hold on to it and chill the fuck out and wait. Because it's not just a quickie and it's over. There's all sort of baggage that comes with it, and you can't separate life from sex. It's just not possible. I've known many people who've tried, and none of them have been able to do it successfully.
No, that's fair enough. Not is that it, but basically is that it?
Yes, that's
oh
it.
yeah,
And
I
it's
want to
not
hear
a
what you
rule
got
I've
to
set for
say.
other people,
But
it's
other
just
than that,
my
I
2 cents.
put my 2 cents in.
I'm quite similar to the idea of Ogre on this. I'm personally, and this is honestly just an opinion, and I don't really care what anybody else wants to do, but generally, for me, the longer that you wait to have sex with somebody, the more you respect that person. Now, if you have sex with somebody on the first night, are you particularly going to want to stay with that person, or do you think that they may be a little bit slutty? Now, if you have to work for it, you have to try and not necessarily undo the dress or undo the present as quickly as possible. You want that present more. You want that person more. So for me, the more that you are in abstinence is the more that you're going to stay together. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that works for everybody. It's just the way that I am. I like to work for what I want. I like to do what I need to do to get what I want. Not just go, you look nice. Come sit on my knee, darling. I don't want that. I don't want that, and especially not when I first meet a girl. I want to be able to go, oh, you're right, darling. Oh, you don't really like me that much. Oh, I'll win you over. I like that bit. I like the chase. I like
That's right.
realizing what's going
All
on.
men do. All men.
Yeah. I like that idea. But if the point is that if you get that chase on the first night, what the fuck are you going to do when you try and trust that girl when she goes out with her mates? The ideas are still going to be in your head. Now, I'm not saying that all girls that give everything out on themselves are going to be promiscuous to everybody. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that there is more chance. There is more chance of it happening.
I would put that on the men as much, though. Perhaps
men are designed that way. Men are designed that way.
Men are fucking get a piece of pussy. And a lot of strong men go to the bar and be like, oh, I don't like no fat ugly chick. Give him four. Let him shift 4-6 pints. And then listen, and then next thing you know, and he wakes up and nobody says anything about that. No means no. He probably told the girl no earlier in the night, but she kept on, and nobody talks about that. How many women actually do rape men? If you want to look at rape and say, look, we ain't got time. We got to wrap this up, boys. We got to get to the end of this. And the reason why I'm about it.
I think that you have a responsibility to yourself and to the person you're in a relationship with, and I think that you're best served to keep young men, inform them. You know, with a fucking mentor would be nice for younger men. That would be a good start.
Yeah.
And to tell them the shit
Father
that you guys
at
have
home.
just said, and that I'm imperfectly trying to say as well, of if they'd known that when they were younger, kind of deal. It doesn't happen, and the women kind of know it because there's more stakes in it for them.
I think you're.
Pregnancy.
See, I go completely different on that aspect. I think one of the reasons why it's changed so much as well is because I don't think men have changed. I don't think men have changed at all. I think they've always been these sex-crazed adolescents, people that just want sex straight away.
Yeah.
I tell you what has changed. The way that women now are more sexualized and now using their ideas and their bodies to get what they want,
making it easy.
Exactly. To make them go, oh, I want a couple of pints, and now you've bought me a couple, you've looked out, and
there you go. Here's a pussy.
Absolutely, exactly. Absolutely taking away what sex actually is. It's not just a case of, oh, it's a commodity, I can use it. And I'm talking about this with mainly women, but it's mostly to do with that nowadays, that women know that they can use their ass to be able to get what the fuck they want.
But also common sense. You're on such a good look. Hate me if you want, but what I believe you're saying, what I'm going to say, piggybacked on top of what you just said, and you can agree if you'd like, is this: women have cheapened themselves and cheapened themselves and cheapened themselves. Now, I don't mean prostitutes. We've always had prostitutes. They've always been looked at with dignity because they've chose to go into a service industry that's needed and people accept it's needed and they do a service. And that's
oldest form of labor.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what common sense guys talking about, where you have your average Jane, and now, okay, this guy bought me a box of popcorn at the movie theater, so I'm going to give him a blowjob. Let me tell you something, ladies. If any ever listen to this, and I do look at our demographics, so I know some of you do. We don't want that. Even if we pretend we do. Even if we say, oh, that was a great blowjob or whatever, we don't want that. We'd rather know that you care about us, and you're giving that to us because you see that we were willing to do what common sense guy said, to pursue you. We're hunters. We're monkeys. We're hunters. We want to hunt. Let us hunt you.
You've kind of made my point better than I did. That's kind of what I was meaning with the onus being on. I'm not saying the onus was on both parties, but what I was saying is having grown up a boy and not a girl, so I can't really speak to their experience very much.
Well, it's time for you to change, especially nowadays.
it's 2018, damn it. That's kind of what I mean, Ogre, is we think we want it all the time, but if we had an older father figure or whatever to tell us, dude, I know you think you do, but trust me, you don't. Like what you just said, that would go a long way. Because the thing is, you have the two impulses to shag and fight all the time when you're under 30.
Just to testosterone,
Yeah, and then the fighting one has been really dampened down and much more difficult. Unless you're in an absolute hellhole neighborhood, we've kind of realized that civilized people can't go around just fighting each other all the fucking time, especially boys. And then you get a few beatings and you realize you can't go about like that as well. with the
I
sex
think that's
thing,
what's missing
what
nowadays.
common
That's
sense is
what's missing.
saying about it is so much more accessible. Everything's hypersexualized. Nobody is saying what Ogre and Common Sense just said to the boys, and the women are kind of, because of the birth control pill and all that sort of stuff being still relatively fresh as far as, you know, we've been around for billions of years. It's pretty
it's
fresh
brand
development.
new, brand new.
Everything is up in the air.
It's been pig intestine rubbers up until about 80 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. I mean, I completely and utterly agree with both of you lads on that. And
Yeah, we gotta do it, boys.
Yeah.
You really dropped the bomb on me. Bow, ooh, baby.
Is it so you don't get a community strike? You're singing it yourself.
Yeah.
No, I got my shit set up, man. Common Sense made me do. Oh, you'll see. I got my shit set up. You got to go first, Cracker. I'm in the middle, man. I ain't low man tonight.
No,
got my co-host.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
it's
no,
final words. Final words.
Yeah, no, I would not want to jump my place in the totem pole anyway. It would feel improper. Final word. I guess just fucking with the Peterson one being fresh in my mind, and then the last story there, it kind of applies to the football thing as well, but not so much. Try and actually take something positive out of things that are positive, and don't be a bitter old newsprint hawking hag. I don't know, just yeah. Read some Peterson, and when you are reading something like that, treat it with a bit of respect, and like if the guy is that peer reviewed and that scientifically knowledgeable and, you know, selling hundreds of thousands of copies of a book, there maybe is something to it, and maybe character assassination is not the way to go, and not the way to keep yourself relevant, and certainly not going to be good for you indulging in that kind of, you know, thing as a reader or a producer. And that's kind of all I've got to say tonight, because it's been a fairly comprehensive stream. So thank you to both of the gentlemen here and to all you out there. See you later.
As to why she couldn't make up her mind, she said you don't understand. I let you go, but there's something you should know. She showed me her wedding band.
Yeah, I like the intro there, so I thought I'd do a little intro for myself. Well, my final word is this. Listen, man, I try it often, very often. My cadences, I just did a video with Scott Pressler, and I was listening to it at the end. I was like, man, you listen to yourself, Ogre. You should have just wrote a script, because I didn't. I did what, I mean, if you look at auto hypnosis, and there's like, you don't want to write a script if you're going to hypnotize somebody. You want to use a cadence. And there's different ways to hypnotize people also. And you have to keep in mind that humanity, as it is, are mostly unaware of tapping into the subconscious. So they're not prepared to even, put up a bulwark against someone hypnotizing them. Look at CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNBC, BBC, all of them. When they start their broadcast, look at all that. It'll be like, and you'll see circles, and all these things will start spinning. Fox News alert, and then all of a sudden, and then the camera will end by spinning and then centering dead on the host. Tonight on Fox News, we have found out that there was a whole lot of shit going down, and a bunch of maniacs murdered a bunch of other people that didn't deserve it, and you are being raped as you listen to me right now. We have to guard ourselves against this. Common Sense Guy and I, we tried our best tonight to break it down to you. We tried to show you some news, and we tried to say, listen, we're two working dudes. We're just two oafs that have looked at this, and this is what we think. And we do hope to accomplish something by that, my friends. And what it is, we hope to deprogram you. We hope that through our arguments, through our discussions, through the various people that we have join us here in our very small way, we hope to deprogram you. And we want more than anything else for you to disagree with us. Be good to your friends and family, man, because before you know it, they'll be gone.
Absolutely true. I was hoping you were going to stay just a little bit longer, but one can't be worried that too much. But I'm going to quickly send Ogre a song that I really hope that he'll be able to play when I give him the signal for it, so to speak, the bat signal. So I'm just quickly sending that to Ogre on Twitter. We won't be playing the whole song, obviously, but just little bits of it. So my little final word, so to speak. I think today we've hit quite a lot of different notes. We hit a lot of different points as well. I think we've been able to go around the houses. We've been able to come back. We've been able to sort everything out. We've been able to put the world to rights, so to speak. I think we've really done quite well in the actual aspect of trying to explain what our points of view are, what our opinions are. I think that we've been able to do it very well, remembering that we had memes on as well earlier on in the stream, being able to talk about stuff like that. I would really like to add more leftist people onto the stream, not for entertainment value, not for the idea of being able to go at them or anything else like that, but to hear their points of view, to hear why they think the way that they think. Because you'll notice with all four of us actually, including memes, that all four of us have been able to say what we mean, but articulate why we think what we mean. And I think so many people now don't look at why you're saying what you're saying. They look at what you're saying and just go racist or socialist or whatever. I think that's one of the most important points that are for today. I think the more that we leave religion behind, so to speak, and I'm not an advocate of religion by any fucking means of the word, definitely not, just ask fucking Ogre on that one, the amount of arguments that we have on Twitter and DMs and everything else like that about religion and whatnot. There's a few, let's just say that, there's a few. But I still think that the more that we move away from religion as a whole to the point of where we don't even teach it properly anymore is the point of why everybody's now going and finding new religions. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's all to do with politics. It can do with the fact of football. It can do with the fact of sports. The fact is that we idolize people. You look at the way that children idolize musicians now. And yeah, okay, fair enough. We always used to do that. We always used to say that musicians were quite sought after and whatnot. But you have a look at the way that they are idolized. They are put onto a pedestal. They are superior to this. They're superior to that. Beyonce Knowles wouldn't shit in the toilet or shit in the woods if she needed to. Of course she would. She's fucking human. Same as any of us would if we needed to. But that's the point. If you, as what Ogre said before, or was it Crumple Point? I can't remember. When we're talking about making false idols, as in making idols themselves and idolizing the things that we made and not what we made it with, we have to remember that it is a case that we do look for that. We do idolize what we've made, but we have to remember how we got there. We have to remember where we're going and how we got there and how we're going to get there and how the conversation happened. Because the most important thing to any aspect of idea is the conversation and how it started. Not necessarily it started in a pub and it was a case of two people having an argument about psychology or whatever. It's a case of the argument happened, was able to be took in good stead. Those two people were able to work together and come forth with a good idea. And with that, I absolutely will say thank you very much. Cheers. See you again.
Living easy, living free. Season ticket on a one-way ride. Asking nothing, leave me be. Taking everything in my stride. Don't need reasons, don't need rhyme. Ain't nothing that I'd rather do. me. Nobody's gonna slow me down like a wheel. Gonna speed it. Nobody's gonna mess me around. Hey, Satan, pay my dues. Being in a rocking band. Hey, mama, look at me. I'm on my way to the promised land. I'm on a highway to hell. On a highway to hell. I'm on a highway to hell. On a highway to hell.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.